Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Kyuubi wasn't the only thing sealed inside Naruto at birth part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your Kyuubi wasn't the only thing sealed inside Naruto at birth, friends, and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. April. Naruto met two wonderful people. The first was Mikoto Uchiha. She was one of prettiest people Naruto had ever seen in his life so far. She saved him from a group of villagers and asked him if he wanted to join the Uchiha clan, but he declined with a heartwarming smile. She told him to be safe, and the two spent some time together. Next, he met an 18-year-old old Enko Mitarashi. He was being swindled in the market by a food vendor, and Enko just so happened to be walking by and had stopped there the previous day and cussed the vendor out. After that, Naruto treated her to some ramen, and he surprisingly paid. She was the second prettiest person Naruto had ever met, but he didn't compare her or Mikoto. Next, he met a 19-year-old Kurenai Yuhi. She had met him and Enko eating some ramen at Ramen Ichiraku, and later that day defended him from some thugs trying to mug the small boy. After that, seemingly customary for Naruto, he treated her to some more ramen, in which she obliged. He again paid somehow. She was the third prettiest woman Naruto had met, and he told her after they met. She blushed and laughed at the small boy, but all three women developed a small childlike crush on their Naruto-kun. July. Naruto had befriended one Kiba Inuzuka, and the two quickly became the best of friends. Later that month, Kiba had invited Naruto over to meet his family. Naruto accepted and met Hana and Sim that night along with their dog companions. Naruto immediately blushed at the sight of Hana and Sim, in which they both found it cute. Later that night, a small, male, wolf-looking, black dog came into the dining room and immediately jumped in Naruto's lap, in which made the Inuzuka family's jaws drop. They explained that pup had been a pain and had disregarded anyone who had tried to claim it by giving it a name, and wouldn't even let anyone pick it up. Naruto called him Erasure, and the dog yipped for joy at the name. They told the blonde boy that whoever named a pup early got to keep it for life, as was the Inuzuka clan tradition. Naruto accepted ownership, and the newly named Erasure became Naruto's partner for life, while the 11-year-old Hana and even the 26-year-old Sim eventually referred to Naruto as Naruto-kun. The following months leading to September were spent training and building his friendships with Sim, Hana, Kurenai, Enko, and Mikoto, all the while building his rivalry with one emo called Sasuke Uchiha. And now, for Naruto Uzumaki, it was the same almost every day of his kid life. He would get chased around the village for something he had no control over. He had to eat out of the garbage just to survive, and he had no family. None. Zip. Nada. Bet you it was different on his birthday, right? Wrong. He would get near-death beatings, especially on his birthday. He'd get cut, bruised severely, and broken bones. Wanna know how people remembered his birthday? Most remember it by it being the day the nine-tailed fox attacked Konoha. Crappy way of remembering someone's birthday, huh? But he figured someone was looking out for him. Each morning after the nights he was beaten, he was healed fully with not even bruises to show. However, he was truly the man in the village, seeing as how he held absolutely no ill will towards the people that beat him. He would just keep smiling, but he figured that was his innocent way of payback. Just keep smiling at it shows the others that what they do doesn't hurt you. But one night in particular was something that marked Naruto forever, something that would make him the greatest ninja in the whole world, possibly since the Kage of the Six Paths. Maybe even greater. Gouge his eyes out, one villager said with a sadistic smile. Make sure he never walks again. Pull his teeth, one said as he kicked Naruto in the face, though the kid was desperately trying to block it. Another sent several blows to his gut as to hope to break some ribs. Those are only some of the things the villagers would say to the 6-year-old. They never tried to, anyways. Thank God. What is the meaning of this? One bellowing voice said among all the others. That voice belonged to one Hokage of the village hidden in the leaf. Killer intent leaked from the Hokage, making the villagers part, with his two ANBU guards on either side of him, and if you were keen in sensing chakra signatures, then you would have sensed a dozen or so more in the forest behind them. The Hokage glared at all of the villagers as he saw what the center of everyone's attention was. It being one badly beaten and bruised Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto-kun! Hiruzen Sarutobi exclaimed as he ran over to the battered form of Naruto with his two ANBU guards on either side of him. He saw that Naruto had a kunai in his left forearm and he was breathing faintly. The Hokage scanned the unconscious boy's vitals to see if he was alright. The final diagnosis was that the boy had internal bleeding and a few broken ribs. Hiruzen then cradled the small boy's head gently in his lap. I want the leaders of this to be brought here immediately by any means necessary. I also want a medic here now, Hiruzen said darkly as the ANBU bowed, immediately saying a yes, Hokage-sama, at the same time. The villagers immediately ran off, but all of the ANBU, including the ones in the forest, chased them and deduced who the leaders were. After about 10 minutes they returned with 3 men who were tied up with bloodied clothes and faces. The medics had arrived and started to tend to Naruto's immediate wounds. After sending a worried glance towards Naruto, the Hokage sent his hard gaze towards the 3 men. Please explain to me why you beat a 6-year-old mercilessly as you would a criminal. Why have you treated a child in such a manner? What did he do to you? Did he steal from you? Did he hurt you? Tell me something good, and I might just let you skip the punishment. These acts towards a defenseless child will not be tolerated, and I will act accordingly, Hiruzen said coldly with a menacing glare as his ki flooded the area, making the three men sweat and begin to grovel. Though one very, very stupid man had the gall to speak. He is a demon, Hokage-sama. He does not deserve to walk among us as an equal. He should be exterminated like the disease he is, the man said, sending a hateful glare towards Naruto as a kunai was immediately placed towards his neck courtesy of one Anko Mitarashi. He's a kid, you sick fuck. Do you think he had any control over what happened 6 years ago? He doesn't deserve to be treated like this, Anko said enraged. The moonlight held an ominous glow over her, and her curseal burned with rage. Her trench coat and purple hair blew slightly with the wind atop the Hokage monument, though it was not a natural wind. Her chakra burned with rage and her ki skyrocketed. Another leader spoke. What are you talking about? That demon is possessed and is trying to destroy the village. Open your eyes, Hokage-sama. That thing deserves to be killed. Though as soon as the words left his mouth a kunai found its place in his forearm courtesy of one Kurenai Yuhi, the ice queen of Konoha and mistress of Genjutsu. He is a kid and you are an adult. You should act like one and call him a thing again and you will lose your life, Kurenai said coldly as she twisted the kunai, causing the man to scream in pain and fall to the ground, the kunai still in his arm. The demon has you all brainwashed. The thing deserves to be either banished or killed, and I'd do it myself if there wasn't always a shinobi to stop us. Please, Hokage-sama, let us end all this madness by ending that thing. The last man screamed as he nodded his head towards the recuperating Naruto, though he had kunai embedded into his shoulder by 27-year-old Mikoto Uchiha, though she barely looked 20. Having survived the Uchiha clan massacre along with Sasuke, she re-enlisted into the Konoha shinobi and regained her jonin rank and title as the Flame Princess. She met Naruto on a patrol, also being cornered by villagers, and she recognized this man but hid it well. After saving Naruto, she took him to get his first ramen. She wanted him to stay at the Uchiha compound, but he declined. She smiled at his upbeat attitude every time she thought of him. I just wanted to reiterate that. This boy has been nothing but kind to those who have been kind to him, and yet even after what you brutes did he still manages to smile. Now please tell us how he would have us brainwashed. He is a child. And this is for calling him thing, Mikoto said harshly as she twisted the kunai, causing the man to scream. This is an outrage. You have no right to do this to us. The man with the kunai in his arm said angrily, all the while gasping for air. We were merely acting in defense of Naruto-kun as what the law dictates. You may do that for any member of the village, the Hokage replied calmly, though his voice carried much disgust for the three men. Take them away, Anko-san, Hiruzen told the 20-year-old. Hi, Hokage-sama, she replied as she and half of the ANBU guards left with the three men, only to be replaced by Tsum, Hana, and Kiba Inuzuka and Naruto's dog and partner, Erasure. Erasure and Naruto had been originally at the Inuzuka compound so that he could play with Kiba and Akamaru. Naruto was only in this situation because he said that he had to go back to his apartment to get something about 6 that night, but was chased all over the village and eventually stopped at the third Hokage monument, where he was then beaten. Naruto-kun! Tsum and Hana exclaimed along with Mikoto and Kurenai as the four encircled Naruto's beaten form, trying to not get in the way of the medic. What happened, Hokage-sama? Why is Naruto like this? Kiba asked with a growl, though it was directed more so at the men who organized this. The ignorant villagers hurt Naruto-kun again, Kiba-san. If only I had adjourned the council meeting when I sensed Naruto was in danger, then maybe I could have prevented this, the Hokage grimly. They were probably trying to stall for time, Tsum growled. She was part of the civilian council, but she called in sick so she could spend the day with her family and her precious Naruto-kun. It is a possibility, Mikoto said, though grit teeth, trying not to cry at the beaten form of Naruto. She had long since put to bed her love for Sasuke's father, even though it was faker than female movie stars' tits of today. It was basically a shotgun marriage. Sasuke's father was used to getting what he wanted, so he got her. But she completely loved Itachi, or Aisane, if you weren't going by her ANBU alias, and Sasuke, but she learned something as a shinobi. Cut all emotional ties if a person betrays you. She still loved Aisane, but if needed be, then she would kill her with her own 2 hands. And what can I say? DeviantArt poisons my mind. Say hello to Fem. Itachi, everyone, those lowlifes, Hana growled as a few tears rolled down her cheeks. She closed her eyes to try to stop them, but a hand groggily reached up to wipe them away. Don't cry, Hana-chan, I'll be fine, believe it, Naruto said with a fox grin, though he was still in massive amounts of pain. Naruto-kun. The females said happily, as to know that little Naruto-kun was a-okay. Well, sort of. Erasure, meanwhile, yipped and ran over to lick Naruto's face, causing the kid to chuckle. Naruto, are you alright, man? Kiba said worriedly, gaining a small grin and nod from Naruto. The medic told the women to back off so he could get some air, but before he could, Naruto went into a coughing fit and coughed up some blood, which caused all present to gasp. Get him to the hospital, now, the Hokage demanded, and immediately received a nod from the 2 medic. I have failed you, Minato. I am sorry, the Hokage thought sadly as he and the females shunshined, with Kiba and Erasure, to the hospital after the medicine. Now, back to the passed out Naruto. We see something that is relatively the same for every story that contains a female Kyuubi on here. Naruto opened his eyes to see a sewer. The blonde boy rubbed his head in pain and looked over his body for any cuts, bruises, or anything to signify what happened not half an hour ago. He saw nothing of the sort. Hello? Naruto called out, and it was followed by an echo. I guess no one's home, he said as he walked through the sewers but stopped when he heard crying. Why? Why is he so ridiculed? What do those people have against him? Why is he beaten? I'm so sorry, Naruto, I'm so sorry, someone sobbed. The voice was peculiarly feminine. He could deduce that. Hello? Is anyone there? Naruto called out again as he looked to his right to see a sewer wall, then behind him to see the sewer lead somewhere else, and to his right to see a giant cage with a beautiful, barefoot, woman sitting on the wall next to the bars with her hands to her face, seemingly trying to stop the flow of tears. She had long red hair in a braid that stopped at her lower back with 9 individual clumps of hair seemingly conjoined at the end. She also wore a solid red kimono with the top low so you could see the generous cleavage she unintentionally showed off, which was easily a D cup if not double Ds. And Naruto-kun, is that you? The woman said shakily as she lifted her face from her hands for him to see her beautiful face. She had red, scrumptious lips that were crimson red, but they had a more natural than artificial look to them. She had a set of piercing red eyes with slit pupils, but they were red and puffy because of all the crying. She also had pointed ears. Her complexion was only described as one word. Angelic was ironically that word. The hair that wasn't tied up in the braid was shaggy, but it was still very much beautiful. What are you doing in this cage, miss? And why are you crying? Naruto asked as he simply walked into the cage and sat down next to her with a worried expression on his face. You're still worried for others more than yourself, Naruto-kun, the woman said with a smile as she enveloped Naruto in a hug, causing him to blush. What's your name, man? Naruto asked politely, offering a small smile. I'm Kyuubi no Yoko, Kyuubi said as she ruffled Naruto's hair, making the child blush. Nice to meet you, Kyu-chan. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto paused. Oh wait, I think you already knew that, Naruto said sheepishly, causing her to giggle and blush at the nickname. You're so cute, Naruto-kun, Kyuubi said, smiling, making Naruto blush. So, it seems the fox has a heart, a voice said from across the cage, causing Naruto to look up to see a man with piercing red eyes, long black, shaggy and spiky hair, a large war fan on his back, fair-colored skin, and dull grayish-black armor. Who are you, mister? Naruto asked as he stood in front of Kyuubi protectively. The man chuckled as he adopted a softer look than a moment ago. I am Madara Uchiha, Naruto-sama, Madara said, looking past Naruto to see a now standing Kyuubi giving him a hard gaze. I already told you I was sorry, Kyuubi-san. I was blackmailed into attacking Konoha 6 years ago, Madara said as he walked past Naruto to rest his fan on the cage wall before sitting down about 3 yards from Kyuubi, of who was now sitting again. Why are you calling me Naruto-sama, Mr. Uchiha? Naruto said with a raised eyebrow as he stood in the front middle of Madara and Kyuubi. Because I see it fitting to be calling someone that, especially when it is their body, Madara explained. Okay. I have a request and 2 questions, Naruto said as he crossed his arms. What is your request, Naruto-sama? Madara said with a raised eyebrow. Just call me Naruto, Mr. Uchiha. We're friends here, aren't we? Naruto said. Of course, Naruto, Madara said, earning a smile from Naruto. What are your 2 questions, Naruto-sam or Naruto? Madara asked. What did you mean you were blackmailed into attacking Konoha, and what do you mean when you say that this is my body? Naruto asked. 8 years ago I was confronted by a group of 5 of who I still don't know their group name, and requested me to attack Konoha. They said that if I didn't then they would kill the entire Uchiha clan and make me watch. I proceeded to fight the group but was defeated after killing 2 of them. They gave me 2 years to prepare. I learned of your parents planning to conceive a child and that the Jinchuriki seal would be at its weakest then. So after you were born I controlled Kyuubi-san here and made her attack Konoha at the point that was farthest from the Uchiha clan compound. But during the attack, Kyuubi was resealed and I was sealed along with her as well as someone else, Madara finished with a downtrodden tone and expression. Naruto looked to Kyuubi on the last part, and she nodded. So from what I've gathered I'm a Jinchuriki and my mom was the previous Jinchuriki. Ha, cool. And this is my mind, I need a remodeler, Naruto said, earning chuckle from Kyuubi and Madara. Who were my parents? Kyuubi stood, knelt down, and wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck from behind him, causing him to blush. Your mother was Kushina Uzumaki, or known as Red Death around the elemental countries. Your father, Kyuubi paused for a moment, was the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze. You are, by rightful, heir to the Namikaze/Uzumaki clans here in Konoha. When you get out of here be sure to tell the Hokage that. Naruto's eyes widened. What happened to them, Kyu-chan? He said after a moment, not giving a crap about being heir to a clan, but he did store the info away for later. They died heroically, said a new voice from outside the cage, causing Madara, Kyuubi, and Naruto to turn around to see a tall man in strange attire. He had on a large red hat with a wide brim, long red trench coat, sunglasses with ocular lenses, and a black suit with a white undershirt, red cravat, white gloves and black riding boots. He wore a grin and he had black hair. Who are you? Naruto asked as he exited the cage and wiped away some tears after hearing his parents had died. The man walked over to Naruto and knelt down before ruffling his hair. Alucard and I am at your service. Alucard grinned, showing his elongated canines. Naruto grumbled as he swatted Alucard's hand away, causing the man clad in red to chuckle. What are you talking about? How do you know how my Ka-san and Tu-san died? Nah, I'm just fucking with ya, Alucard said, releasing a laugh but earned a very, very hard punch from Madara. You don't joke about those things, you mean it? Naruto said angrily with a few tears falling down his cheek. They died saving you, Alucard whispered, making Naruto's eyes widen. From her, Alucard added, pointing a finger at Kyuubi, making her fall to her knees in her cage and more tears to fall from her cheeks. And Naruto-kun, I'm sorry. I wasn't being myself. Please forgive me, Kyuubi said in between sobs as she buried her face in her hands. Why did you tell him that? Madara whispered to Alucard as they watched Naruto walk back in the cage. They could exit the cage freely, but they couldn't exit Naruto's mind altogether. Because if she ever wants to become his mate when he gets older, then he will need to know now better than later, Alucard reasoned. However, me being the asshole I am, will not tell him that his mother's body was never recovered. Alucard grinned, making Madara sigh and pinch the bridge of his nose. They've known each other for 15 minutes. How did you deduce that? Madara questioned after a moment of silence. The air around here became lighter and happier ever since they started to speak, but now it's heavy again, courtesy of moi, French for me. Alucard finished with a cackle while Madara surprisingly sweat dropped. Meanwhile, with Kyuubi and Naruto. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, Kyuubi stuttered as more tears dropped from her beautiful crimson eyes and rolled down the porcelain skin on her face. Naruto just stood there with his hands clenched at his sides and tears were rolling down his cheeks. His spiky hair was in his eyes so she couldn't see his expression. I understand if you don't want to speak to me, Kyuubi stuttered again as she sobbed more. Not a moment later, Naruto put his small arms around Kyuubi's form, making her look up to see the smiling yet crying face of Naruto. It's okay, Kyu-chan. I know it's not yours or Mr. Uchiha's fault. I forgive you, Kyu-chan, so we can still be friends, Naruto finished with a smile as he pulled back and wiped away the tears on her face with his thumbs. Kyuubi went wide-eyed as a blush found its way onto her face. She took both of her hands and put them on the one Naruto had on her face. She smiled through the tears and pulled Naruto into a hug of her own before kissing his forehead lightly, making him blush furiously. Not to ruin the moment, Naruto, but are we going to get on with this? Madara piped in as he and Alucard stepped in the cage. Why can you guys come in and out of the cage while Kyu-chan can't? Naruto questioned as Kyuubi stood and put her arms around Naruto's neck, making him blush again. Because this seal wasn't designed for us, but it's doing a good job keeping us in here, Alucard chuckled. You still never said how you got in here, Alucard-san, Naruto questioned. I was simply taking an enthusiastic stroll and wanted to hitch a ride on Kyuubi-san, and I was sealed in here along with Madara here, Alucard grinned. Naruto gave an O while Madara spoke again. Now that you have met us, you need to train, but you won't like what you will have to, Naruto-sama, Madara said grimly. What is it, Madara-san? Naruto questioned. Ignoring the sama, Madara added. You will have to leave the village for a long time, of which during you will become a very, very strong ninja, Naruto. I already have a set amount of time you will be away. You may decline, but I recommend it, Naruto-sama, Madara added. How long will I be gone? Naruto questioned again, still ignoring the sama. 7 years? You will return on your 13th birthday, Madara said. You want to be Hokage of Konoha, no? And protect your precious people? Of course I do. I'll do it, Naruto said without a second's thought. Kyuubi gave a smile to Naruto and how he would protect his precious people with his life. She hoped that one day she would be on his list. But I have one question, why do I have to leave Konoha? Naruto asked curiously. Because you will be advancing at a rate unseen by anyone, and you will attain a strength that rivals the Sage of the Six Paths. You will learn each affinity and its basic abilities as well as advanced, learn each of our special abilities, unlock my dojutsu, learn most sub-elements, and be taught S-rank jutsus, as well as wield each of our special weapons excluding Kyuubi-san, of course. She has raw power and has no need for weapons. You will also be taught advanced genjutsus, ninjutsus, and taijutsus, and well as most subcategories, including kinjutsus, but you will be taught the basic jutsus first. You have 6 years and the child mind is more easily manipulated than a matured one, so it should be easy given the amount of time we have, along with you having some of the greatest nin and the most powerful bija as teachers, Madara said, releasing a sigh before looking at Naruto's the fuck expression. In other words, you're gonna be learning a lot of shit. You better be ready, kid, Alucard said as Naruto began to fade. You must be waking up, Naruto-kun, but we can still speak to you telepathically, so don't worry, but remember to remodel for me, Kyuubi said with a smile as Naruto completely vanished from his inner realm. Naruto opened his eyes to a sliver to see Kiba, Anko, Kurenai, Tsum, Hana, and Mikoto asleep, as well as Erashur in chairs around his hospital bed, though Erashur was sitting on Naruto's stomach, him rising and falling with Naruto's steady breathing. Naruto reminded himself that he needed to speak with Gigi about his leaving for the next 6 years. He also thought about who was going to protect him at such an early age. Do not worry, Naruto-kun. Madara, Alucard, and I will protect you until you are able to fend for yourself, Kyuubi reassured with a smile. Naruto smiled back and sighed mentally before he sat up only to be greeted with Anko and Kurenai jumping up immediately, causing Kiba, Mikoto, Hana and Tsum to soon follow. After making sure he wasn't injured and giving them a foxy grin, which made them strangely blush and Kiba to roll his eyes, he said one sentence. I need to see Gigi. Are you alright, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen asked worriedly as the rest of the group that had been watching him that night left his office per request on his part. I'm fine, Gigi. But I have something to say that I believe you may not like, Naruto said as he looked his Gigi right in the eye. What is it, Naruto-kun? The Hokage replied. I am leaving Konoha. Breaking the news to his Gigi was difficult, but breaking the news to Tsum, Hana, Anko, Kurenai, Mikoto, and Kiba was even harder. They did not like the fact that their little Naruto-kun was going off into the very real and very dangerous world. But Naruto said that this was for the best, and that he would get stronger. He took the Genin exam a week after his meeting with his 3 tenants, and the Hokage said that when he came back to Konoha, he would immediately be met with the rank Genin and issued a headband. You never told us when you'd be coming back, Naruto, Kiba said as he smirked. I'll come back exactly on my 13th birthday, believe it, Naruto said, giving him a thumbs up. Are you sure I should take Airshurt, Tsum-chan? Naruto asked, receiving a small blush from the clan leader. Who else is gonna watch your back, Naruto-kun? Tsum grinned as she, Hana, Anko, Kurenai, and Mikoto each gazed Naruto a loving hug, making Airshur yip in approval. Perverted dog, Naruto thought. Oh, you know you liked it, Alucard piped in with a cackle. Oh, and Gigi, Naruto said, earning a questioning look from the Hokage. I expect the Namikaze compound to be ready when I get back, Naruto smirked to himself as he saw the wide eyes from everyone present. He then exited the gate and headed to who knows where. After a while he soon checked his shorts pocket to find a picture of him, Kiba, Mikoto, Anko, Kurenai, Hana, and Tsum with him seemingly being the center of attention, with him blushing and the crowded around him so they could pose for the camera. He looked back to Airshur, who was resting on the top of his backpack, and smiled. That would be motivation enough for him to get stronger so he could protect them and any others he considered part of his group of precious people. 1 year later, in a field just inside the land of waves, you could see 5 figures. One was clad in a red trench coat, another a properly fitted kimono, another figure that was clad in gray-black armor was fighting a 7-year-old boy. The last figure was a small pup of who was cheering Naruto on by giving an occasional yip of motivation. He had been taught that he could materialize any of his tenants by preforming a Kaigebushin no Jutsu, shadow clones technique, and adding their chakra to them, and adding a more than usual amount to them so they wouldn't dissipate, but this was only fairly recent, seeing as how he had to be taught that technique first. Again. Your stance is sloppy, Madara said as Naruto charged him with the Inazuma, the lighting affinity blade, and Kajin, the fire affinity blade, which were Madara's 2 trademark blades. Both were Chikuto swords with no hilt, but the Inazuma had a blue hilt and silver blade, while the Kajin had a black blade and red hilt. For Madara, there were 6 of the blades, so there was 1 for each affinity, but until Naruto was ready, Madara would restrict it to 2. During this year, Naruto had advanced to low Jonin levels in all of the jutsus taught to him. He had also made a small name for himself. He had been doing simple jobs that kept him afloat in terms of money in the land of waves. But he had been all over the elemental countries, but he rarely ever went to the land of fire because he wanted his change of strength to be a surprise. And boy, would there be a surprise. 3 years later, a 10-year-old Naruto walked into Suna's Kazekage's office clad in a black trench coat, black t-shirt, black boots, black A&BU pants with boot-cut pants legs, and an orange mask with a black swirl revolving around the only eye hole of which was the right. All of his clothing, however, was comprised of chakra and could change color at his will as well as grow along with him. Speaking of appearances, he was now at a height of 4 feet 6 inches. His rank was also low Kage. By then he had also acquired the 3rd Tomo to his Sharingan. But the only thing that irked him was the fact that as he got stronger, his 3 tenants did as well, so he could always strive to get stronger under them. Their gruesome training was the only thing that made him get stronger, and it seemed to get tougher as the years went by. Another thing to add was that he was not alone. He had a 22-year-old Shizuka Zabuza Momochi and Haku Momochi, Shizuka's adoptive daughter, and last but not least, Airshur. Yes, fem. Zabuza and fem. Haku, check my profile if you want an accurate representation of what Zabuza looks like. Big whoop, wanna fight about it. For weaponry, Naruto had 2 large pistols and shoulder holsters inside his jacket, each with 13-inch barrels, while one was black and the other was silver. He had decided to name them. Well, more so Alucard had decided to name them. The midnight black one was named the Jackal and the silver was named the Kasul. They fired raw chakra at whatever he aimed them at simply by pulling the trigger. He also had his 2 swords at his hips inside his jacket. However, he had a genjutsu placed on his person so that if you were to see him, then he would have 2 large broadswords on his back in black leather sheaths. When he was 8 and attained the level of High Jonin, he fulfilled his first bounty, and that bounty was also his first ever time taking another human's life. The bounty was a low life that raped women in the land of water. From then on he had always taken a place in his heart to hide away a special hatred for rapists. However, since then he had been going along the alias the Black Death, as to hide his identity. But back to the subject of killing, he never liked killing, but Kyuubi, Madara, and Alucard had all drilled into his mind that killing was alright for the people who deserved it. Well, Madara and Kyuubi did anyways. When he was 9, Naruto met Zabuza on a contract while she was the contract. She would have been the second A-rank kill he would have had, but if he hadn't taken a quick liking to her and her adoptive daughter, Haku, quickly, then she would have been dead. But he did his first ever swindle on a village. Madara was the pinnacle of genjutsu back in his day, so Naruto had quickly thought of making a very elaborate illusion in the shape of her head. When he arrived back at Iwagakure, he showed that Tsuchikage her head before he let it burst into flames. After much grumbling, that Tsuchikage forked over the bounty and Shizuka Zabuza Momochi was officially dead, but ever since then she was at his side because she had seen the 10-year-old's surprising power firsthand. When he had just turned 10, he accepted a bounty via bounty board in Kirigakure. He killed the target with the help of Shizuka and Haku, and turned it into the Mizukage, Mei Terumi. But all of this was after he, Shizuka, and Haku had helped end the Kiri civil war alongside Mei and her rebel army. He had to go in his four-tailed state to defeat a fully transformed Yagura. However, he had complete control. Afterwards, that was also when they started to date, while Mei was his second girlfriend, his first being Kyu-chan. Naruto had also met the Raikage, within the same year. The man took a quick liking to the young bounty hunter. He had also made quite a few friends in Kumogakure. Killer B, the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki, Yujito ni, Mabui, A's secretary, Karui, and Samui ni. Yujito, Karui, Samui, and Mabui each had a crush on our not-so-oblivious anymore Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. That didn't mean that they knew of his Black Death. Naruto smirked at the memories. There were only 5 people that knew his true identity. A, Killer B, Haku, Mei, and Shizuka were the only ones. Here are your bounties. The billboards were also off. One of these fools was a borderline S-rank, A-rank missing Nin. I expect reparations, Black Death growled out, receiving an immediate nod from the Kazekage. Your final total is 1,800,000 Ryo. 400,000 each for the A-ranks and 1 million for the borderline Nin. Good day, Black Death-san, the Kazekage said, receiving a nod from the orange-masked, red-haired man. That night, as Naruto walked out onto a balcony in his hotel in Suna, he pulled out 2 pictures this time. One was of him back in Konoha and another was of him, Mei, Haku, and Shizuka back in Kirigakure with him and his mask on. Naruto smiled and returned to his bed in his hotel room. He also heard something no normal 10-year-old should. He heard Haku and Shizuka in their respective rooms moaning his name due to his heightened senses. Rest assured, he was still a virgin, but he found it cute that they would masturbate to him. He shut the balcony door, took off his coat and mask before falling on his bed, and let Erasure claim his spot on his chest. 3 more years was the last thing he thought of before falling into a blissful sleep. Another 3 years later, Naruto, Erasure, Haku, and Shizuka were currently making their way to Konohagakure in the Land of Fire 3 months before the assigned time. Naruto had hidden his mask away inside his jacket as well as making his jacket white. He had grown to an impressive 5 feet 5 inches over that 2 years and 9 months. He had actually already hit the early stages of puberty, seeing as how his voice had matured early. Damn, Alucard. His power had also advanced to above Kage level, or 8S class shinobi. Madara, Alucard, and Kyu-chan had all come to the joint conclusion that Naruto was so powerful that he was to be in the famed X-class shinobi rank. No one in 100 years had attained that rank. That was actually his base power level. If he were to use any of his other techniques, then he would be unstoppable to anyone and everyone. He had also mastered 3 things. One was the Mangekyo Sharingan. He had attained that on his toughest day of training, which was 4 months from the current time. So the Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo were all added to his arsenal of killing techniques, though the Susanoo had only progressed to an incomplete Susanoo without a lower body. But Madara praised him, saying that it was near impossible to unlock the Susanoo within 4 months of unlocking the Mangekyo, and then still have time to spare with progressing the Susanoo to its second out of 7 stages. If the second was that he mastered the Rasengan by the time he was 11. The third was the summoning contract he had with a few winged beasts, you could call them. Courtesy of his Kyu-chan. But here's another piece of information on our favorite, above Kage level, X-class, blonde. He had truly amassed a treasure over the years, so he had purchased a few houses throughout the nations. It was truly astounding that a few years out of the village that did him harm made him attain such a great level of prosperity. There were 8 things that made him want to return to the village. Kurenai-chan, Mikoto-chan, Tsum-chan, Hana-chan, Anko-chan, Kiba, his Gigi, and the fact that he could head the most prestigious clan in Konohagakure. By then, word had gotten out that Shizuka was still alive, and no one knew who had turned in the bounty 3 years ago thanks to a certain redhead, female Kage. Naruto had to thank her for that, or his identity would have been found out a long time ago by simple addition. If he was to walk around with Shizuka, then people could put 2 and 2 together to find out he was Black Death. He was also very much wanted in IWA, but no one really cared because of their dislike for their Kage. Why'd you have mess with me hitting puberty? I was perfectly happy the way I was. I wanted to come into this process naturally, you know, Naruto grumbled towards Alucard, and Naruto got a cackle in return. He then heard a giggle from his precious Kyu-chan. I think you look sexy, Naruto-kun, the delicious vixen said seductively, which made Naruto blush. If anyone wanted to make him blush, it was her. You're never gonna let me live that down, are you? Shizuka groaned as she heard an amused chuckle from Naruto. I was scarred with the noise of you moaning a 10-year-old's name you, too, Haku-chan, Naruto snickered, making the 18-year-old Haka blush. Don't hide your blush from me, Shizuka-chan. I am not hiding it, Naruto-kun, Shizuka responded. On a random note, why'd you take off your mask and change your clothes' colors? The swordswoman asked as her blush receded. Because I wanted to keep my identity a secret, duh, Naruto said, poking his tongue out at her. Shizuka rolled her eyes as the three people, and dog, walked up to the gates. The two guards sprang to action. Halt! State your name and business. The one on the right said. Naruto smirked. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. I would like to see the Hokage. The two guards went wide-eyed and immediately bowed. Of course, Namikaze-sama. We trust you know the way to the Hokage office? The guard on the right asked as he received a nod from Naruto. I also trust that these two have the Namikaze clan protection? The left guard asked, receiving another nod. Enjoy your stay, Namikaze-sama. Naruto nodded as he entered the gates with Haku and Shizuka right behind him. However, Naruto wanted to stop somewhere first. I'm home. Naruto called out at the Ichiraku ramen stand. Who the hell thinks they're home? Tucci stopped as he was met with the sight of a grown Naruto clad in strange clothes. He couldn't forget the wolf-like dog on his head or that mop of blonde hair anywhere. And Naruto-kun? Tucci stuttered. I am. Get out here. Tucci yelled to his daughter. Yeah, Dad? I am, said as she stepped out of the kitchen to see a grown Naruto with two women on either side of him. Oh Tuto. I am, cried as she hopped over the counter to hug Naruto, of who was now only a couple inches shorter than her. How much ramen do you want, my boy? Tucci asked with a smirk. A lot, Naruto responded as he took his place on his favorite stool from what he remembered with Shizuka and Haku on either side of him. This place was actually on the list of why he wanted to come back to Konoha. Hiruzen Sarutobi rubbed him temples as he sifted through the paperwork. Hey Gigi, he heard somewhat deep voice call from behind the stack of papers. I don't know who you think you are, boy, but no one calls me Gigi except special people. And how the hell did you even get in my office? Hiruzen asked, irritated, not even bothering to look above the papers. Am I not special, Gigi? Did you forget about me? The voice said again. Sarutobi's eyes widened as he shakily looked up to see a grown Naruto with a dog on his head and two women on either side of him. And Naruto-kun, why do you think Hokage-sama called us in here? The 24-year-old Anko asked as she, Kiba, Mikoto, Kurenai, Hana, and some all walked to the door leading to Hiruzen's office. Maybe an A-rank mission? A now 17-year-old Hana asked. Kiba wouldn't be here if that was the case, a 31-year-old Sam said with a chuckle, making her 12-year-old son growl. Probably just to remind us that Naruto-kun is coming back in 3 months, Mikoto said, visibly saddened. Each and every day Naruto was gone that made each of his friends want to see him, and hold him more, the females more so than Kiba. The male Inuzuka trusted his friend to come back in one piece. Possibly, but it's unlikely, the 24-year-old Genjutsu mistress and ice queen, Kurenai said, her voice also downtrodden. Enter, they heard Hiruzen say from the other side of the door. However, what they saw when they entered was a sight they thought they wouldn't see ever again. Probably due to the fact that a 6-year-old out alone in the world didn't have a high chance of survival. And Naruto-kun? Each of the females stuttered as they blushed on the sight of the very, very handsome, and hell, even sexy form of Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Am I early? Naruto said with a genuine smile, making Haku and Shizuka smile at the reunion. He then cackled at a joke. This is the only time I'll come early, he finished mentally, followed by a cackle. Naruto-yen! They yelled as they tackled the above Kage level, X-class, Nin to the floor, each with huge smiles and tears running down their faces. I can vouch for her and Haku-chan, Gigi. They've been protecting me and training me ever since I was 8, Naruto lied smoothly. He didn't really like to lie, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, the Hokage nodded. You two may stay in Konoha, Zabuza-san, Haku-san, but I have one condition. You must enlist as Konoha shinobi, the Hokage said evenly. Shizuka and Haku both looked to Naruto, of who just shrugged and patted Erasure on the head. We accept, Hokage-san. Shizuka bowed lightly as well as Haku. It is always nice to have new faces around the village, Hiruzen smiled. Now, as it seems you will be asked to attend council meetings nowadays, Naruto-kun, seeing as how you discovered your heritage. How did you discover your heritage? The Hokage asked. It truly wasn't difficult even for a 6-year-old Gigi. I mean, who else around the village had this mop of blonde and spiky hair besides the Yondaime Hokage? Naruto grinned and there were some chuckles from the people gathered. True, Naruto's Gigi retorted with a smile. My guess is that there's gonna be a council meeting today, isn't there? Naruto said with disdain evident in his voice. Of course. And would you like to take guess what it's going to be over? Gigi said with a chuckle. Me? Naruto groaned. Exactly. We'll catch up later, Naruto-kun, seeing as how those 6 have been eyeing you ever since they came into the office, Hiruzen said with a smile as he gestured to Anko, Kurenai, Mikoto, Sum, Hana, and Kiba. Alright, Gigi, do any of you know the way to the Namikaze compound? Naruto asked as he looked to the six behind him. I do, Naruto-kun. Mikoto raised her hand as she smiled. Alright, thanks Mikoto-chan, Naruto said with a smile causing Mikoto to blush. What time's the meeting at, Gigi? Naruto asked as he stuffed his hands in his trench coat pockets. 6, sharp, don't be late, Naruto-kun. Hiruzen smiled as he sat down at his desk again. And when are the genin teams picked, Gigi? Naruto asked another question. 1 week, Hiruzen replied as he resumed his paperwork. And here is your headband, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen said as he tossed Naruto the piece of metal and fabric before Naruto caught it and tying loosely around his neck. As soon as Naruto and company were gone, an Anbu with shoulder-length, silver hair, walked from the shadows and knelt down in front of the Hokage's desk. Did you sense that, Hokage-sama? The distinct feminine voice said from behind her dog mask. Yes. He was suppressing his chakra. I will put him on your team as well as Kiba-san. The last will be entirely random. I want you to keep an eye on him, Kumiko-san, the Hokage said, not even looking up from his paperwork. Please, Hokage-sama, my name is Kakashi when I'm on duty, Kumiko said politely. Oh, please, Kakashi-san, you left Anbu a while ago. You only do this when someone piques your interest, Hokage grinned. Though meanwhile the silver-haired Anbu was happy she had her mask on so as to hide her blush. Female Kakashi, anyone? Check profile for link, so just put my blood on the seal and it will open. Naruto asked, and he received a nod from Mikoto. The group of 9 had trekked from the Hokage mansion to a forest located inside of the village. After about 20 minutes they finally made it to the location. Naruto simply shrugged as he bit his thumb hard enough to draw blood and then put it on the seal. The door seal turned a full 180 degrees before sliding open to reveal a large courtyard with a garden on the far side comprised of many different types of flowers. The Namikaze seal was on the far side of the wall behind the garden. Damn, this place is bigger than the Inuzuka compound, Sim said as she placed an arm around Naruto's neck, causing all the female eyes to direct a death glare at the back of her head. I'll show you around from what I can remember, Naruto-kun, Mikoto said with a smile as she led the group around the compound. It was about 4 when the group retired to the living room. So, Naruto-kun, why don't you tell us about some of your adventures with Shizuka-san and Haku-san here? Kurenai asked as she took her place to the right of Naruto while Anko took the left. Yeah man, I've been dying to know ever since you got back, Kiba said enthusiastically. He truly was happy that his best friend was back in the village where he belonged. Naruto smirked inwardly. Oh, only if they knew, he thought. Well, I became good friends with the Mizukage and Reikage for starters, Naruto said, causing everyone's jaws to drop. I helped some guy in the Land of Waves build a bridge. I also helped in taking down the organization that this guy Gato was leading. All with Shizuka-chan's and Haku-chan's help, of course. Well, them more so than me, Naruto chuckled with the lie. He didn't want them worrying about him, but he thought it would be kinda cool for them to know he was the infamous Black Death who took down some of the strongest missing nin in the world. It wouldn't hurt to tell them, Naruto-kun. They are your closest friends after all, Kyuubi voiced her opinion with a smile. Naruto nodded inwardly but waited for Madara and Alucard to voice their opinions. I don't see any repercussions in telling just them, Naruto, Madara said. Don't give a fuck, Alucard said with a cackle, and Naruto inwardly sweat dropped. Just how strong are you, Naruto-kun? Hana asked, receiving nods from the rest of the group. Naruto sighed. Average for my age, was all the blonde could say. He had decided it was for the best anyways. With them worrying and whatnot. Plus, Naruto figured that Kiba might accidentally let something slip. He trusted all of them completely. But he just didn't want them being hurt by relation. He really had stepped on a lot of toes over the years, him being Mr. Big and Bad Vigilante and all. Later that night, the meeting with the council was just one big headache for Naruto. Gigi wasn't lying when he said that the meeting would most likely be revolved around him. The Shinobi Council was fine with him being back, but some of the civilian council were still very rude to him, though most did call him Namikaze-sama, which irritated him to no end. And even the everyday civilians that shot him hateful glares back when he was a kid acted nice to him. But he was wiser than that to know that none of them were actually his friend. Seeing as how the civilian council and shinobi councils served only as advisement to the Hokage, Shizuka and Haku were both free from their charges, but they had to be inducted into the Namikaze clan, in which Naruto happily obliged. He really did like the company of Shizuka and Haku, especially in his younger days when he felt lonely save for his precious Kyu-chan, Madara, and Alucard. If anyone wanted to cheer him up, then it was definitely them, seeing as how they knew him best. You know it's late, Naruto-kun. Why aren't you going to bed? Shizuka asked. She stepped out of the main doorway to the courtyard while Naruto was adjusting his orange mask. She then put her arms around his neck affectionately. I just want to take a little stroll is all, Black Death responded as he turned around to hug her. Be safe, she whispered with a chuckle. Naruto merely snorted in amusement. You know, Haku-chan, you and I do all these couple-like things yet we aren't together. Why is that? He asked with a hint of playfulness. This again? I told you that we'd be yours when you're a Chunin, Shizuka said with a smile. I could defeat all of the Chunins and Jonins without breaking a sweat, and you still want me to be at that rank? That's unfair, Naruto chuckled. Shizuka rolled her eyes with a smile as she kissed the masked forehead before he shunted it away in a burst of dark mist. Show off. I never should have taught him how to make mist, she muttered with a smile as she re-entered the Namikaze compound only clad in a pink kimono. She wasn't one for dressing up, but Naruto said she looked good in it, and that was all that mattered. Sitting on the Hokage monuments in the middle of Konoha was Naruto, his red hair blowing slightly with the wind. When he was 11, Madara mentioned something to him. He said that if Naruto wanted him to, was to make it to where every time he put his Black Death mask on it would change his hair from spiky blonde to spiky red, as to hide his identity better, of course. Naruto sighed. In 1 week he would be given the rank Genin formally and assigned to a team. If he was with Kiba, then he could manage. Anyone else, then he'd have a fit, especially if it was Sasuke. He'd never put up with that arrogant bastard. Sasuke's mother, however, was one of the nicest people he had ever met, and Naruto had no idea where Sasuke got his Uchiha pride from. Naruto then smirked. The Namikaze were actually more prestigious than the Uchihas by a long shot. He then thought of Kurenai-chan and Anko-chan. He smiled at the thought of them. Back in the day he was happy when he was merely graced with their respective presences. Then there was Sum-chan and Hana-chan. He also smiled at the thought of those two. They treated him as family, and so did Kiba. He really liked all 5 of them. Now, what do we have here? A voice said from behind Naruto, causing him to lazily stand and turn around. I'm trying to enjoy the moonlight and the silence, so please tell me what you want. Naruto said uncaringly to the ANBU, though his annoyance meter was rising fairly quickly. He then turned back around to look over the village. We want to take you in for questioning, one with a bird mask said, her voice distinctively feminine. Naruto rolled his eyes as he turned around, letting his, or rather Madara's, Mangekyo Sharingan flare to life, making the ANBU flinch. And what have I done? I am no criminal, Black Death responded in a cold tone. Luckily for Naruto, each of his tenants had magnificent healing capabilities, so it was physically impossible for him to go blind. However, Madara had explained that wasn't case. It was more the fact that Madara already had the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but would not give it to Naruto until Naruto earned it. So the EMS was still technically there, it just wasn't there. If you catch my meaning, I think. We simply want to get an accurate reading on your power levels and you are then free to leave, a cat ANBU said slyly, its voice also feminine. You're lying. You want to take me to your interrogation room, restrain me, figure out my identity, and then kill me for not having an allegiance to any village. Either that or not being aligned with Konohagakure. Am I correct, ANBU-san? Black Death deduced easily, making the cat ANBU's eyes widen behind her mask as well as the other ANBU spec ops. After a moment of silence, Naruto spoke again. Seeing as how my mood has just been killed, I will be leaving now. Black Death then disappeared in a lightning shunshin. He liked to mix things up a bit with his abilities. 1 week later, Naruto walked through the halls of the academy with a small smirk on his face, and Erasure was snoozing away in his jacket. He walked past Kurenai and Anko, and he smiled at them, making them blush. Each time he would walk past a girl or group of girls, they would all blush at the sight of him, but he paid them no mind. Older women were his attraction, A/N-LOL. As he entered the room, all eyes were immediately drawn to him. One Amo of the Uchiha immediately glared at him, but Naruto disregarded it. But the Uchiha decided to speak when he saw Naruto's weapons. A new guy, give me one of those swords, Sasuke demanded. If he wasn't Mikoto's son, then Naruto swore to himself that he would hit the brat right then and there. Naruto blinked. No, was all he said, which made the Uchiha seethe. So this is what the Uchiha male has been deduced to. I'm actually contemplating that I should have committed the Uchiha massacre myself if I would have known that it would deduce to this, Madara said, and he was clearly annoyed. It seemed only 2 people in the room knew him. One was Kiba while the other was the emo. Speaking of Kiba, he was already there, and the dog boy waved the blonde over. Sup, man, Kiba said as Naruto took his seat next to the Inuzuka. Not much, Naruto replied as Erasure stretched and yipped at Akamaru for their greetings, in which Akamaru yipped back. After 5 minutes of comfortable silence between the two friends, Naruto spoke again. That pink banshee doesn't shut up, does she? After about 15 minutes of a certain pink-haired banshee screaming and stares from the girls in the room, excluding one pink-haired, Sasuke Uchiha-obsessed idiot, one Iruka Yumino walked in the room and greeted the whole class with a hello and a smile. But the smile faded as it found itself on one Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, of who had a small smile on his face and a pair of piercing blue eyes. He seriously just wanted to say begone, Satan, but refrained the best he could. He then went over all the introductory bullshit. Meanwhile, Naruto merely just zoned out. When Kurenai entered the room, he zoned back and just to wink at her, making her blush. Please let Naruto be on my team, she pleaded to Kami. Team 7 will consist of Kiba Inuzuka, Shikamaru Nara, and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Iruka forced the last name out while everyone gasped at the still smiling Naruto. Damn it all! Kurenai yelled internally while she only outwardly gave a small pout. She then looked at Naruto, of who just gave her an apologetic look and smiled to her. She just smiled back as she tried to hide her blush. Team 8 will consist of Shino Aburame, Sakura Harino, and Sasuke Uchiha, Iruka said seriously while Sakura cheered and Sasuke huffed. Not a moment later, Kiba and Naruto fell to the floor, holding their stomachs, almost dying from laughter. After an hour of waiting and being the last people in the classroom, Shikamaru sighed. This is too troublesome. We don't even know who our sensei is, he sighed as he rubbed his temples. Not a moment later, a very shapely woman with shoulder length, somewhat spiky, silver hair and gray eyes walked in the room. She had thin legs, amazing-looking thighs, at least a D-cup, and an overall hourglass figure. Her hips were also very pronounced as she was pretty stunning. She had on a mask that covered her nose, mouth, cheeks, and chin, so that only her right eye was visible. Her Konoha headband was also covering her left eye. She wore a variation of the Jonin jacket with a black, skin-tight, long-sleeve undershirt, fingerless black gloves, and black A&BU pants and sandals. She was also reading from a small orange book. And better visualization if you visit my profile. So, she's reading the Ika series. Pervert, Naruto inwardly grinned. He had read every one of them up to date. He wasn't a pervert, he was just curious. Meet me on the roof in 10 minutes, the woman said as she shunshined away in a burst of leaves. Her voice was somewhat hard and it carried authority. Naruto grinned. Hey guys, hold on to my jacket, Naruto asked Shikamaru and Kiba, of who raised eyebrows and but obliged. Erasure yipped and hid himself away in Naruto's jacket. In a burst of leaves also Naruto was on the roof while Shikamaru, Kiba, and Akamaru looked like they were about to cough up their lunch. So you know how to use elemental shunshin? Not bad, kid, the woman said as Naruto turned around to see the same silver-haired woman sitting on an air conditioner. So you're a fan of the Ika series? I figured you were a pervert, Naruto grinned, making the silver-haired woman blush behind her mask. She blushed as she looked onto the grinning from of Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. She thought he was good-looking for an almost 13-year-old. His deep voice sent chills down her spine and she could see his muscles through the thin black t-shirt he had on as well as his arm muscles that were more pronounced with the white jacket he had on. Oh, Cammy. I didn't get a look at him yesterday, but damn, she thought as she immediately shook her head to rid herself of her blush. Pervert, Naruto muttered with a grin, making her blush even more. He was very much aware of the fact that she was ogling him. He smirked inwardly. I am not a pervert, Kumiko retorted with a stutter as she closed her orange booklet. Whatever, Ero-sensei, Naruto grinned again. If it was possible for Kumiko to blush any harder, then she would have turned into a full-blown tomato. A cough brought their attention to the task at hand. Don't make this any more troublesome than it has to be, Shikamaru said as he rubbed his temples again. I'm gonna throw up again, Kiba said with disdain, and Akamaru yipped in agreement. After regaining her composure, Kumiko coughed. Alright, so we're going to go around and state what our names, likes, dislikes, and dreams are. Why don't you tell us how it's done, Ero-sensei? Naruto grinned to the silver-haired beauty while she blushed again. My name is Kumiko Hataki. I have a few dislikes and I have a few likes. I have some dreams but not many, Kumiko smirked beneath her mask. Your turn, dog boy, she said, pointing to Kiba, of who just growled at the name. My name is Kiba Inuzuka. I like to train with Akamaru and hang out with my friends. I dislike stuck-up people and banshees. At that, Shikamaru, Kiba, and Naruto snickered. My dream is to become the head of my clan, he finished. My name's Shikamaru Nara. I like to sleep and do nothing. I dislike work. And my dream is to go to bed right now, he finished with a chuckle and a yawn. I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. I like to hang out with my friends, eat ramen, and train. I also like older women, Naruto snickered while Kumiko was glad she had her mask on as to hide her blush. I also dislike banshees, especially the pink ones. My dream is to become Hokage of Konoha. Alright, meet me out in the Team 7 training grounds tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And don't eat breakfast, or you're gonna throw it up, she said before she shunshined away in more leaves. Eat breakfast, guys. Judging from how late she was today, she's gonna be late tomorrow. So just remember to eat your breakfast, Naruto said as Kiba and Shikamaru shrugged before they each went home, though Naruto did go with Kiba so he could see his precious Hana-chan and Tsum-chan. Seeing as how he figured that his Ero-sensei was going to be late, Naruto decided to sleep in the next morning. He fixed some coffee, in which he had taken a quick liking to the brew over the last few years, fixed some eggs as well as some sausage for himself, but he decided to make some extra for his Haku-chan and his Shizuka-chan. Once he ate, he went for a shower, put on his clothes, and equipped his weaponry, in which he still had no idea why no one had questioned his firearms or swords, put his black death mask in his jacket, and went back to the kitchen to kind Haku and Shizuka eating breakfast. Morning, sleepyheads, Naruto said with a grin, making Haku blush. She was still as shy as Naruto remembered. Weren't you supposed to get up at 7 for some training or something? Shizuka asked with a raised eyebrow as she sipped some coffee out of Naruto's mug. Yeah, but my sensei is always late from what I gathered and I figured I'd sleep in, Naruto said with a yawn. Who's your sensei, Naruto-kun? Haku asked as she ate her eggs and sausage. Kumiko Hataki, Naruto said before Shizuka and Haku both did a spit take, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. I take it you know her, Shizuka-chan, Haku-chan? Naruto asked. Yeah, we, fought a couple times. She's pretty good, but I can still beat her, ain't that right, Haku-chan? Shizuka said with a confident smirk. Naruto tried to wear that overconfident thing about Shizuka, but he was sure he would have preferred that more than a Shizuka with poor self-esteem. Right, Shizuka-sam, or Shizuka-chan, Haku corrected herself. Shizuka had never liked it when Haku had referred to her Shizuka-sama or Zabuza-sama. Shizuka wanted to treat her like a daughter, and that's what she did. Well, I'd best get going, Naruto said as he opened the door before he was kissed on both of his cheeks by Haku and Shizuka. That ultimately made him blush. Bye, Naruto-kun, they said simultaneously with a smile and blush on their faces. Am I late? Naruto asked as he walked up to awaiting Shikamaru and Kiba. And, as expected, Kumiko was nowhere to be found. Normally you would be seeing as how it's 9 o'clock, Naruto, but seeing as how Kumiko-sensei isn't here then I guess you aren't late, Kiba responded as Erashur and Akamaru yipped their greetings to each other. Our sensei is such a drag, Shikamaru muttered as he laid down in the field with his eyes closing. Sorry I'm late. I go lost on the road of life, Kumiko said as she walked into the field with her eye never leaving the orange book in her hands, though she was absent-mindedly reading it. Her thoughts, however, were focused on a certain blonde. Whatever, Ero-sensei, Naruto mumbled with a smirk. Damn it, why do I keep blushing? He's just a kid. Why do I have to keep blushing? Kumiko yelled internally as a blush enveloped her cheeks underneath her mask because of the nickname. She shook her head, closed her book, and pinched the bridge of her nose. I hope you guys ate breakfast cause I have a feeling we're about to something vigorous training. Naruto grinned while Kumiko nodded. As you can see here I have 2 bells. Whichever 2 of you take them pass this test. Whoever doesn't get sent back to the academy, am I clear? Kumiko said as she simply stood there. Meanwhile Shikamaru perked up and so did Kiba at the mention of being sent back to the academy, but Naruto just continued to grin, the joys of fighting ringing in his ears. Yeah, Alucard rubbed off on him a lot. Naruto tries his best to keep a tight leash on his love for battle, but I mean come on, who doesn't like a good fight every once in a while? I'll keep Ero-sensei busy, you guys take those bells for yourselves, Naruto said to his teammates, as he placed Erashur on the ground before he simply charged Kumiko at inhuman speeds. What the hell? He's not even using Shunshin. How's he that fast? Kumiko yelled as she jumped back from a punch that put a huge crater in the ground where she was formerly standing. Over here, Naruto said, poking on the shoulder before she turned around to narrowly dodge a punch from the genin. Gutsuga. She heard someone say from behind her to see a spiraling Erashur and Naruto coming at her. She jumped up to avoid the attack as it made contact with the ground only to immediately stop. She landed about 10 yards away to see the dust clear to see 3 figures, one being Naruto, another being Shikamaru, the last being Kiba, all with smirks on their faces. The latter having the 2 bells on his index finger being twirled. How? She trailed off. While you were fighting me these 2 saw an opening and took the bells from you. It was simple really, especially when the enemy's on defense, and only focused on one opponent, Naruto explained as he hopped out of the crater. Now do we all pass, or do only 2 of us pass? Seeing as how this exercise was for teamwork and all, Naruto explained, receiving another dumbfounded expression from Kumiko. So I was right. Seeing as how 3 genin couldn't take on a jonin, this exercise was to inspire teamwork. Am I right? Naruto reiterated with a smirk, receiving an absent-minded nod from Kumiko. Then we all pass. Congrats, guys, Naruto said, receiving a woohoo from Kiba and acknowledging grunt and small smile from Shikamaru. Akamaru and Erashur also yipped in congratulations. Not a moment later a purple-haired blur rocketed out of the forest and tackled Naruto to ground. Naruto had to fight not to tear the person's head off when he saw them. Reflexes and all. Hey, Naruto-kun, Anko said with a large smile as she straddled Naruto's waist. Oh hey, Anko-chan, what are you doing here? Naruto said as he sat up, though Anko didn't look like she was gonna move from his waist. Meanwhile Kumiko couldn't help but feel a little amount of jealousy well up in her stomach at what Anko was doing to Naruto. I just wanted to check up on you, is all. I wasn't doing anything and you were the first thing that came to my mind, she smiled as she rubbed his crotch unintentionally. She grinned inwardly. You're packing quite the package there, Naruto-kun. Plus I wanted to see if you wanted to get some ramen with Kurenai-chan and me later? Sound good? She asked. Please accept, you sexy Greek Kami. Oh yeah, sure. It's a date, he smiled, which caused Anko to blush. She smiled at him and stood up. After another smile she shunshined away and Naruto looked around to see that only Kumiko was left. She was also giving him a hard gaze that had jealousy written all over it. What, you jealous, Ero-sensei? Naruto said with a foxy grin while Kumiko just blushed behind her mask and shunshined away in a burst of leaves. Women, Naruto said to himself while shaking his head. Erashur yipped in agreement with his master. Meanwhile with Kumiko, she had just shunshined inside the Hokage's office. She saw the other Jonin senseis there, so she decided to take her place between Anko and Kurenai. Ah, Kumiko-san, how nice of you to join us and on time for once. Hiruzen smiled while the other Jonins laughed, and Kumiko's sweat dropped. Now, what are the results of the teamwork tests? The Hokage asked. Team 1 fail, Team 2 fail, Team 3 fail, Team 4 fail, Team 5 fail, Team 6 fail, Anko stated. Team 7 pass, Kumiko stated, making the other Jonin's eyes go wide. Elaborate, Hiruzen said evenly while he inwardly smiled at how his surrogate grandson passed. They showed excellent collaboration in retrieving the bells, however. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze took me head on without another thought. He left getting the bells up to Kiba and Shikamaru. His speed is far greater than mine. I couldn't even track him. He also used an Inuzuka technique with his Niken. His strength rivals Tsunade Senju because he punched a hole in the ground with his initial attack. He is far above Genin, Kumiko explained while the other Jonin's eyes widened again. Well, aren't you just full of surprises? Naruto, Kurenai and Anko thought as they exchanged glances with each other. Alright, just keep tabs on him. I'm sure that he has been up to more than we know in the last 6 years, Hiruzen said while a brown-haired Jonin named Yamato spoke up. Hokage-sama, I'm sure that he needs to inform you in full of his full set of abilities. Withholding information about himself could prove disastrous in the future, Yamato stated, getting nods from some Jonin. If Naruto-kun wants to keep some secrets, then let him. It's none of our business, Anko stated. After all, one of a ninja's top weapons is deception, Yamato-san, Kurenai added. That is correct, Hiruzen nodded. It is up to Naruto if he wants to divulge any information of his skills. Proceed with the other team's performances, Hiruzen said. Teammate pass. Barely, Kurenai added. Sakura Haruno is positively useless. From what I can gather, Sasuke Uchiha thinks he is unbeatable, and it is very annoying. Shino seems to be the only sane one of the team aside from myself, the Genjutsu mistress said, earning some chuckles from the gathered Jonin. I thought we were going to get some ramen. Naruto whined slightly as Anko and Kurenai dragged him to a more formal restaurant. It was about 6 in the afternoon when they picked him up from the Namikaze Uzumaki estate. Well, we wanted to treat our precious Naruto to something more delicious than boring old ramen, Kurenai smiled. If anyone would have been with the three, then they would have looked at Kurenai like she was an alien because of the way she was smiling. They would have been all like blasphemy. Naruto was about to retort before they entered the most expensive and restaurant in Konoha, which was known as Red Star. Yes, reservation for 3 under Yuhi, Kurenai spoke to the man at the front desk, of which nodded immediately, and escorted the 3 to their place in the restaurant. Naruto was getting ugly glares from the men, with some muttering "lucky team" under their breaths. Here is your booth, your waiter will be right with you, the man said as he exited the room. Naruto nodded to the man and entered the booth, only to be flanked by both Anko and Kurenai at the same time. I'd like to make a Naruto sandwich, Anko whispered seductively with a slight blush and half-lidded eyes. She had to say that Naruto had grown into quite the man since the last time she saw him. Hell, she'd say he was drop-dead equivalent to a Greek god. His rugged complexion, those eyes that told more stories than he was letting on, and those muscles beneath that white jacket and shirt were just begging to be let out. She blushed again as she thought of his strong form over her, completely dominating her. It made shivers go up and down her spine. She could finally kiss her virginity goodbye, and it wouldn't be something she would have regretted either, like a lot of girls nowadays. Her usual openness was just a way to cope with sexual frustration she had been having. And masturbation just didn't seem to cut it. But every time she was around Naruto, she couldn't control herself. Her heart fluttered, heat built up in her body just at the thought of him. It was all completely alien to her, but she liked it a lot. A Naruto sandwich? I think I might like that, Naruto winked, making Kurenai and Anko both blush intensively. Kurenai was also having a problem containing herself around her precious Naruto. Her inner woman was telling her to tie the man down and ravish him to no end. She and Anko had been best friends for over a decade, and they told each other everything. When Naruto left the village, they would complain to each other, and sometimes Mikoto, Tsum and Hana, about how much they missed their precious Naruto. But now here he was, a man that carried himself without an ounce of cockiness, and just stone-cold determination that turned her on to no end. She wanted him, she needed him, she positively craved him and his every fiber of existence. She wanted to hold him tight and never let go. She'd gladly give herself and her virginity to him at a moment's notice, but she wouldn't admit that to herself. I did say that she hadn't lost her virginity because of her reputation of castrating men in neighboring villages, right? Yeah, that wore her rep down a bit with the men, but Naruto had no problem around her, in which she loved that about him. He was also more powerful than he let on, and that intrigued both of the women to find out what truly happened to their Naruto. Now, what may I get for you, Mrs. and Sir? The waiter said as Naruto put his arms around both of their necks to rest them on their shoulders. I'd like sake, please, Naruto asked, and the man saw his Konoha headband, in which made him a man by legal terms. He then nodded. Sake here, too, Kurenai and Anko said to the waiter, of who nodded. Here are our menus, I will back with your drinks, the waiter said as he left the area where the booth was. I never knew you were one to drink sake, Naruto, Anko said with a smile. Yeah, I drank a lot while I was gone. The stuff barely affects me anymore, Naruto replied with a smirk. They let kids drink without any proof of identification? Kurenai asked with a raised eyebrow. Now she was really intrigued. Come on, Naruto-kun, at least tell them something about your time out of the village. You don't have to tell them about you being one of the strongest, if not the strongest, ninja in the world, but tell them something. Something vague, Kyuubi voiced her opinion. Naruto had to agree with that. If he didn't tell any of his precious people soon, then it would basically be telling them that he didn't trust them. But he still wouldn't tell them he was Black Death just for their safety, but what could a little vague information hurt? You two remember a week ago at the Namikaze compound when I said I was just training with Shizuka-chan and Haku-chan while I was away? Naruto asked as he closed his eyes. Yeah, we do, Naruto. What about it? Enko asked as she scooted a bit closer to Naruto, and Kurenai did the same. I kinda lied. I was actually a bounty hunter since I was 8, Naruto said as he opened his eyes again only to look at the table. Kurenai and Enko were flabbergasted. Their little Naruto was a bounty hunter? Then that means he had actually killed before, too. But before Naruto could say something, Enko and Kurenai both looked at each other and nodded before kissing Naruto on either cheek, which caused him to blush furiously. We don't care, Naruto. And I'm actually happy that those 6 years weren't wasted on your part. Enko smiled as she kissed him on the cheek again. A blush also was adorned on her features. Maybe we can test your skills someday with those weapons of yours, too, Kurenai said with a smile as she kissed him on the cheek again as well. She also blushed. You're going to have to tell Tsum, Hana, and Mikoto, you know that, right? Enko said, and Naruto nodded while she and Kurenai both smiled and nuzzled into him. That night was spent with laughs and Naruto told them a few stories of his. When they ate, Kurenai was about to pay, but Naruto beat her to it and gave the waiter a generous tip. Afterwards he walked the two home, seeing as how they lived together. I had a great time tonight, girls. Good night, he smiled as he was about to turn around before Enko embraced him from the front and gave him a generous kiss on the lips. He returned it in full, and just as Enko pulled away, Kurenai replaced her with a kiss of her own. You have no idea how long we've been waiting to do that, Enko smiled. We wanted to wait until you were older, and here you are kissing a couple old hags like us. Kurenai chuckled nervously. Not a moment later Naruto took them into a warm embrace. Don't say that about yourselves, Enko-chan, Kurenai-chan. You two are some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, and don't let anyone tell you any different. And you two are far from old, so don't let me catch you saying that about yourselves ever again. Am I clear? Naruto said in a mock authoritative tone coupled with a smile. Anything, Naruto, they said at the same time while they blushed thoroughly at the compliments. 2 months later, Naruto's training with his 3 senseis didn't let up, but instead he opted to train in his mindscape, which, albeit not as effective, but was the only way he could train and not get found out. He had learned of another natural bloodline passed on to him that skipped every other generation. 'Twas the legendary Rinnegan. Madara had the Rinnegan, but he knew that Naruto did also from snooping around his DNA and altering it a bit more so it could accommodate the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan as well as its abilities. Naruto hadn't unlocked the EMS yet, but with the rate he was progressing, Madara figured the teen would soon. And by soon, he meant very soon. It was basically trying to unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan all over again for Naruto, except twice as hard. But back to the Rinnegan. Madara had explained to Naruto when the blonde boy unlocked it that it was of sheer willpower. Naruto remembered that it was when he was taking on his Kyuchan, Alucard, and Madara at the same time was when he unlocked it. Madara had explained that there were 4 levels to the Rinnegan that took decades to master, but knowing Naruto it would probably only take a few years. The Rinnegan also naturally helped with the yin and yang releases, the ones that govern the spiritual and physical energies. Who doesn't love an OP Naruto? But here's a little insight as to each of Naruto's tenants' power levels. Any one of them is equal to the other in terms of power, including Naruto. So any one of them could take on any other one equally, and let it be a draw, but if it were a 2-on-1 then the one person would undoubtedly lose. However, only on rare occasions when Naruto wasn't learning something he would spar with one of them, however he could tell they were holding back, but it still pushed him. But aside from training, Naruto had told the half-lie of him being a bounty hunter to Mikoto, Tsum, and Hana. Mikoto had merely given him the silent treatment for a week before she spoke to him again. But when she did speak she cried also, saying that he could have gotten hurt and that she couldn't possibly live without her little, not so little anymore, Naruto. She had feelings for her Naruto, but she couldn't sort them out, so she kept them hidden for the time being. Tsum was perfectly fine with him being a bounty hunter. He still remembered what she said to him the day he told her. I like him big, strong, sexy, and powerful, she whispered, which still made him blush to that very day just by thinking about it. Now I want you, the readers, to tell me if she has feeling for Naruto? Or do I have to say it? Hana was a little upset with him going along the lines of what Mikoto did, though she didn't give him the silent treatment for a week, but she quickly got over it and told him, I figured that 6 years out of the village didn't make you only average. He smiled at that. She also had feelings for the blonde, but she, like Mikoto, kept them hidden as to not mess things up with her Naruto. Enko and Kurenai were another matter. They were severely flirting with him non-stop, however, like Shizuka and Haku, told him to wait until he was a chunin and they would be all his. A day over at the Namikaze compound they had discovered the same deal was struck with Shizuka and Haku with Naruto. After a lot of swearing, thrown objects, and death threats, the 4 came down to an agreement that when Naruto reached the rank chunin they would all be his. Sweet deal, right? Another bit of info for you was that because Kurenai was somewhat lacking in everything except genjutsu, and Enko was good at everything except genjutsu, Team 8 was assigned 2 senseis. Sasuke and his Uchiha pride told everyone that he got 2 senseis because one sensei wasn't strong enough to teach him. Naruto's Kyuchan was one of the biggest perverts that Naruto had ever met. She had figured out how to materialize at will, and scare the shit out of him, especially when he was in the shower. One time she had materialized behind him completely naked, in which he did not mind, but would not admit. It took both of their maximum willpowers to not take each other right then and there. So, sadly, our Naruto, otherwise known as the badass Black Death, was still a virgin. Kumiko for the entire 2 months was trying to sort out her feelings for the blonde. Every time he would come to training, her heart would flutter, she'd blush automatically. Her senses would go into overdrive every time he was simply standing near her, and his scent would send shivers down her spine. She was a complete mess. On a random note, Naruto's height had increased to about 5 feet 7 inches. I honestly just can't find where to put this into a part of this 2-month overview. Now, onto the task at hand. Team 7 walked down the halls towards the Hokage's office. Naruto was petting Erasure, who was happily sleeping in his jacket. Shikamaru and Kiba were talking amongst themselves, and Kumiko was walking ahead of the group. I did mention that Shikamaru, Kiba, and Naruto were now like brothers, right? I didn't mention that? Well then, there you go. The 4 stopped at the door to Hiruzen's office, and they heard an enter from behind the door. Kumiko pushed open the door to see Team 8 and their 2 senseis, Kurenai Yahi and Anko Mitarashi. What are you guys doing here? Kumiko asked Kurenai and Anko. I will answer that, Kumiko-san. You 9 are about to be sent on a C-ranked mission, and this mission is to inspire teamwork between teams. Teams 9 and 10 have already completed 2 joint C-rank missions, and now your teams must complete 1 as it is mandatory, Hiruzen explained. Sasuke merely grunted and said something about not needing help and Uchiha Elite. Naruto shrugged as he would be able to spend time with Anko and Kurenai. Sakura was about to shout before Anko covered her mouth with a roll of duct tape. Shino said nothing. Kiba said it was fine with him, and Shikamaru said something about it being too troublesome. We accept, Hokage-sama, Kurenai, Anko, and Kumiko said at the same time with a bow. What's our mission, Gigi? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Kumiko was about to scold him, but the Hokage said not to worry about it. Your group will be escorting the actress, Yuki Fujikazuto, to the land of snow for her and her team to shoot a movie. Watching the movie with Kurenai to his left, Anko to his right with his arms draped over their shoulders, Naruto couldn't be happier. The movie itself was hard to get into, but he could deal with it. Sakura was currently being a fangirl for the characters in the movie. Sasuke was trying to zone out the banshee beside him. Shino was being silent and watching the movie. Kumiko was sitting a couple rows in front of Naruto, but she occasionally glanced back at him. She had jealousy written on every expression as well. Kiba was watching the movie respectfully, all the while feeding popcorn to Akamaru. Erasure was sleeping, and so was Shikamaru. Naruto looked to both of his soon-to-be women and smiled to both of them, causing them to blush. They didn't know why, but every little affectionate thing he did made blood immediately run to their cheeks. Naruto didn't know why, but he found it extremely cute. Naruto looked back to the movie to look at the main character, Princess Gale, or otherwise known as the famous actress, Yuki Fujikazuto. He had to say that she was extremely beautiful, and he would compare her to any of the other women he had taken an interest in. But he hated to compare any of the women he liked to each other. They were amazingly beautiful in their own rights. After the movie, and Sasuke and Sakura being thrown out, the 2 teams were resting outside of the theater. You guys like the movie? Naruto asked the group with a smile. It was good, Anko and Kurenai said with smiles. It was fine, Kiba said as he petted Akamaru. What movie? I was taking a nap, Shikamaru said as he yawned and stretched. What about you, Kumiko-sensei? Naruto smiled. It was, fine, she said as she walked off to meet their contact with her heart fluttering just from the simple sentence. It would have been fine if you didn't get us kicked out, Naruto baka. Sakura yelled. Everyone raised an eyebrow. I wasn't even sitting near you, Banshee-san, Naruto said seriously. The group snickered. Even Sasuke cracked a small smile. Before the pink Banshee could retort, a horse with a black-haired woman with a green robe rode past. 1 second later, no less than a dozen men in black armor were chasing after her, all with horses of her own. They were being led by a normally dressed man, which made it more odd. Naruto raised an eyebrow. He wasn't the leader, but he had to something. You guys restrain the men. I'll go after the woman and ask why she's being chased, Naruto said in an authoritative tone. Who died and made you leader? Sakura yelled. Kumiko-sensei isn't here. Do you have any objections, Kiba, Shikamaru, Kurenai-sensei, and Anko-sensei? Naruto asked, and he received shakes of the head. Then that settles it, Naruto said as he shunshined to a nearby roof to chase after the woman. Chasing after and restraining the men had been a breeze for the group of 2 jonin and 5 genin. I needed a good workout, Sasuke said as he stretched his arms. What are you guys doing? Kumiko said as she jumped down from the spot she was perched on and disappeared, only to reappear behind the group of men with the rope behind them falling to the ground. Why'd you do that, Kumiko-sensei? Kiba asked. It was too troublesome getting them tied up, Shikamaru added with a sigh. Did the Hokage not inform you too? Kumiko asked as she helped an aged man to his feet. She then noticed a blank stare from Kurenai and Anko. I guess he didn't. This is the man who hired us, Sandewa-sama, Kumiko said, and the now proclaimed Sandewa bowed lightly. Meanwhile, the actress, Yuki Fujikaze, was sitting on the ground by a calm river while her white horse was drinking from it. Her knees were brought up to her chest, and she was resting her chin on her kneecaps. She clearly had a sad expression on her face. Now what is a pretty woman like you doing here all alone? She heard a voice say from behind her. She turned her head to see a handsome, and probably sexy, young man with blonde hair, white trench coat and a set of gorgeous blue eyes. Are you alright, ma'am? Naruto asked as he noticed her stare. She blushed lightly as she shook her head. She then climbed back on her horse and trotted past Naruto, of who just raised an eyebrow. After a minute of riding, she looked to her left to see Naruto running past her. Silent type, eh? He said with a small smile. She didn't respond, but instead slapped her horse's rear with a brown horse crop. I get the feeling she doesn't want to talk to anyone, Naruto chuckled as he sped up along with her. After another minute of riding, she entered a town with Naruto still casually matching her horse's speed. You do realize I'll keep following you, right? Naruto said as a pole ripped off piece of her robe's sleeve that hit Naruto in the face. He took it off only to see her about to trample over a bunch of kids. He could tell that she was trying to stop the horse, but it was no good. In a moment's notice, Naruto shunshed Ned in front of her horse. Stop, he said as he placed a palm on the horse's nose, causing the giant animal to stop abruptly, ultimately causing the woman riding it to be bucked forward. She braced for impact and closed her eyes, but the impact never came. She opened her eyes to see that she was in the arms of the man from earlier. Put me down, she demanded, and Naruto obliged. He put her down gently, but as soon as he did, she was swarmed by the children. It's Princess Gale, a girl said happily. Look, my name's not Princess Gale, the now proclaimed Princess Gale said, but then the girl spoke again. Oh, right. Your name's Yuki Fujikaze and I am your biggest fan. The girl squealed as she took off her backpack to search for book and marker. Can I please have your autograph? The girl asked, and the other kids soon followed in begging for her autograph as well. Naruto watched the exchange carefully. He had a feeling that something not so good for her image was about to happen. Look, kids, I don't do autographs, Yuki said, but the kids continued to plead. Enough already, she shouted, making the kids be quiet. I mean, come on. What's so special about getting my autograph, huh? You're just gonna shove it in some drawer and forget about it. All it's good for is collecting dust. They're just a waste of time, they're useless. Dumb children, she muttered the last part as she walked past the children, earning a disapproving shake of the head from Naruto, of who just petted the horse on the nose again, earning a neigh from the horse. She wants to be yours, Naruto-kun, Kyuubi said. What? Naruto responded. The horse, she likes you. Give me control for a moment, and I could tell her to head back to the Namake's compound, Kyuchan said, and Naruto shrugged. He had no idea that Kyuubi could talk to animals. After speaking to the horse in a language she said all animals spoke, she told Naruto to attach a scroll to the horse, of which would teleport her to the Namake's compound. Naruto nodded and attached 2 scrolls to the horse. The first being the teleportation seal, the last being a note for Shizuka. After a moment of teleporting the horse to the compound, Naruto sighed and decided to follow the now proclaimed Yuki Fujikaze. Meanwhile in Konoha, Namake's compound, training grounds, Shizuka and Haku were currently sparring, and Shizuka had just deflected 3 ice senbons from Haku. She blinked once and looked to her left to see a white horse. She shrugged and got back in her stance. She then adopted a confused look on her face and looked back to the horse. What the fuck? She said aloud. Back with Yuki. It was quickly becoming dark when Yuki Fujikaze exited a clothing store in a long, beige coat, arranged sweater, long brown skirt, and sunglasses. She couldn't get the thought of the kid in the white trench coat out of her mind. She didn't even know his name, and her thoughts were swarmed by him. She would admit he was cute, and the blonde hair and blue eyes only seemed to enhance that, but another thing that got her was his smile. He had such a cute smile, and those dimples he had on his face when he smiled only made him cuter. She shook her head. She needed to find a bar and fast. She just wanted to drink the night away and forget about her worries, especially the land of snow her manager was so adamant about. She never wanted to return to that place, and no one could make her if she didn't want to. The painful memories about her sister being killed in the fire were too much for her to bear, and she was sure that if she returned then that would only increase the pain. Now back to Naruto. It truly wasn't difficult for Naruto to find the actress. He recognized her scent from earlier, as well as the small chakra tracking seal he placed on her leg when she wasn't looking. He walked into the alley bar, bumping into a man with a hat on as he took a seat next to Yuki, an impassive expression on her face. 1 bottle of sake in a saucer, Naruto said, and gained a nod from the bartender, of who just slid down the saucer and bottle. He could tell that Yuki had been there a while as she was already drunk. I didn't know kids drank, the drunken Yuki said as she put a necklace with a hexagonal crystal back on her neck. Well, now you do, Yuki-san, Naruto said as he drank from his saucer. Why do you keep following me? She slurred as she poured another shot glass full of sake and drank it. Don't know, he said simply with a smirk. Yuki rolled her eyes as she poured herself another glass. I have to say, I don't care how high and mighty an actress you are, you don't have the right to trample over a kid's simple request of you just giving them an autograph, Naruto said casually as he drank his saucer full of sake. Me? High and mighty? Don't make me laugh, she said as she went into laughing fit, which made Naruto raise an eyebrow. I can't think of a worse job than being an actress. Only the lowliest of the low would want to have this job. It sucks. You're just a liar. A natural liar. That's what being an actor is. You have lies given to you on a piece of paper, and you bring them life, Yuki said as she drank from her shot glass again. What a realist way of viewing things, Yuki-san, Naruto said as he drank from his saucer again. Hey, what's your name, kid? Yuki asked with half-lidded eyes. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Naruto said semi-proudly. Well, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, you want to get laid? She slurred with a sultry smile. Luckily no one else was in the bar except the bartender. Naruto merely smirked. I would probably have taken you up on your offer if you weren't drunk, Yuki-chan, he said, making her blush at the name. What, am I not good enough for you? Am I too ugly, or something? She said enraged. He had the perfect opportunity to deflower a famous actress. How dare he decline it? No, you are very beautiful, Yuki-chan. However, I would like it if you didn't do something you might regret later, he said as he poured himself the last bit of sake from his bottle. She blushed again. She had the rare ability to remember things clear as day every time she got drunk. So she'd ultimately remember the compliments thrown her way. Before things could get any further, one Sandai came rushing through the door with Kumiko in tow. Oh, thank goodness I've found you, Yuki-san. Our boat to the land of snow is about to depart. Please. We don't have much time, Sandai said pleadingly. No thank you, Sandai. I'm bailing out on the part of being princess, she said casually while Sandai widened his eyes. What on earth are you talking about, Yuki-san? Sandai said fearfully. Oh, don't worry about it. This happens all the time, okay? I mean, lead actresses change from sequel to sequel. Come on, directors change more often than that, she slurred again. Alright, that's enough. You listen to me, now. There is nobody on this whole planet HWO can play Princess Gale better than you can. Nobody. He paused. Besides, if you pull out this late in the game, you can kiss your acting career goodbye. Do you understand me? He finished. Where's Anko-chan, Kurenai-chan, and the others? Naruto asked Kumiko, who had to fight not to stutter. They're at the boat waiting for us, she said, trying to keep her sentence short. Both then tuned back into the current conversation between the manager and actress. So? She said, simply responding to Sandai's statement. Naruto slammed his bottle on the bar angrily. Alright. I'm tired. Sake gets me hungry and you're coming with us, Naruto said as he turned her in her stool to face him. His Rinnegan flared to life and that earned a wide eye from Kumiko. The actress looked into the beauty of the purple eyes and suddenly felt light-headed. Her last memory was of Naruto catching her and carrying her bridal style out of the bar. Waking up from an intense dream, Yuki awoke to see a room with a single window to her left. She was on a bed and there was a small table beside her. She was also wearing yellow pajamas and was covered in blue sheets. The memories from the previous night were coming back to her. Naruto coming in at the bar. His sitting beside her and drinking with her. Him scolding her about the autographs. Her offering herself to him calling her beautiful, and his respect for her not to take advantage of her drunken state. He was really sweet. She blushed and half smiled at that. Ah, Yuki-san, you're awake, she heard Sandai say as she clutched her head. Sandai, can you get me some water? My head's spinning. I know this'll sound crazy, but it feels like the room is swaying, she said as she rubbed her temples. You wouldn't be entirely wrong on that statement, Yuki-san, he said, making her eyes widen. She rushed out of the room and up some stairs to open a wooden door to see that they were on a ship. Her eyes widened. You have got to be kidding me. About an hour later, Naruto, the rest of Team 7 and Team 8 were currently doing their own things. Sakura was fawning over Sasuke. Sasuke was trying to accidentally push Sakura off the ship. Anko and Kurenai were with Naruto, of who were watching the scene get set up on the ship. Shikamaru was sleeping below deck. Kiba was with Naruto and Ko. And Shino was having a difficult time keeping a kunai away from his throat just to get Sakura to shut the hell up. And it was gonna happen one way or another. Kumiko was trying to distance herself from a certain blonde as to not have any alien feelings, but it was having the opposite effect on her. When she was near him, she was somewhat at peace. When she was away from him, her thoughts would be directed at one person and one person only. That was Naruto. I guess you could say that this is a spoiler alert if you wanted to see the next movie, guys. Naruto chuckled, earning a giggle from Anko and Kurenai as well as a chuckle from Kiba. Erasure yipped as well as Akamaru in agreement. Naruto had to say that he preferred an all-natural kind of girl that didn't put on much makeup, but he had to say that Yuki Fujikaze with makeup was absolutely stunning. Her blue eyes were gorgeous, her perfect heart-shaped face, her scrumptious red lips, and the pink eyeshadow only added to her beauty. Her black hair sculpted her face perfectly. She was simply gorgeous. However, now he would go over the other traits of the women he had taken an interest in just to make sure the author didn't seem biased. Some had a feral side to her that Naruto absolutely adored. She was unapproachable to other men, but Naruto knew there was a softer side to her. Her shaggy brown hair just seemed to add to her beauty, and her eyes were also very cute. Her being the eldest of the supposed ice queens, he found it even more cute when he just simply talked to her, and she would melt like putty in his hands. He smiled at that. Hana had a more feminine charm than some, however he liked that she could somewhat tomboyish. She always went all natural, and which Naruto admired and loved that about her. Being one of the ice queens of Konoha, she had never had a boyfriend, and Naruto had asked her how she had been that beautiful and not had a boyfriend. She said that she already had her eyes on someone special and that she wouldn't give up until he was hers. Using his keen intellect, he quickly deduced that she was talking about him. Next was Mikoto. Naruto had deduced that Mikoto lost both her son and daughter on the night of the massacre. She had told him that Sasuke barely talked to her because he was so pent up on revenge from his sister. Every time she talked about it, Naruto comforted her to the best of his ability. He had always admired her strong-willedness. Her natural charcoal eyes were very cute, and her heart-shaped face was gorgeous. Enko was always a mystery. She had always been ridiculed about being the apprentice of Orochimaru, but Naruto never looked at her any different. During the 2 months, he had actually found a way to rid the cursed seal of its effects. It wouldn't destroy it, it would just simply repurpose the seal, but the only way that Naruto figured out how to do it was with a bite of his own, which would place his seal instead. But enough about that. Enko had always been beautiful in Naruto's eyes, and he had no idea why no other man had tried to claim her. Her eyes were very gorgeous, and the shade of her hair always intrigued him, but he found it suiting her in a beautiful way. Next was the Genjutsu mistress, Kurenai. Her red eyes entranced him to no end, and her somewhat shy nature made her all the cuter. Her Ice Queen status meant as much to Naruto as the other Ice Queen statuses did to the other girls. In other words, it didn't mean jack shit. When the Genjutsu mistress befriended him those years ago, she occupied his thoughts as much as the other women. Shizuka had the toned body of an athlete, and that was something that Naruto couldn't keep his eyes off even if he tried. Her skills weren't anything that should be tampered with, and her golden eyes were something that only showed affection and care for 2 people in the entire world. Those 2 people were himself and Haku. Now on to Haku. When Naruto met her, she was about as shy and timid as a turtle. But over time she came out of her shell towards people with Naruto's help, of course. He had to say when he first met Haku that she lied to him and said she was a boy. Naruto figured it was a lie but went along with it. But about 2.5 years ago he walked in her wrapping bandages around her chest. The memory made him grin. She had the honor of being the second naked female body he had ever seen, the first being his Kyuchan, of course, which made Kyuubi grin. Kumiko was next. She had a toned body from what he saw. He'd just have to let his imagination cover the rest. But he always wondered why she had her headband over her right eye. Madara had said that he sensed some familiar chakra coming from her, and guessed she had the Sharingan. Naruto shrugged at the assumption, but if it was actually true then he'd give Madara props for it. He would go over what he admired about his Kyuchan, but he had already told her before, which made her blush. 2 years ago, an 11-year-old Naruto and Kyuubi were currently walking through the forest at night not far from their campsite. After a few minutes of walking and small talk, they stopped in a clearing with flowers everywhere. They laid down in the grass and Kyuubi nuzzled into Naruto's neck. "Hey Naruto-kun, I have a question," Kyuubi asked as she looked up at the stars. He asked. "Why do you like me? I mean, I know you forgave me because I was the reason you got all those beatings those years ago, but I still can't wrap my head around it," she said sadly as she looked from the stars and up to the smiling form of Naruto. "Why?" "Well, I have a lot of reasons," he smiled as he looked up to the stars. "You're amazingly beautiful, you have a great smile, and you and I have the same sense of humor. You have a great personality. You're kind, sweet, and caring. I could go on and on." "Kyuchan," he said with a smile as he looked down to a smiling and crying fox demon. "Kyuchan, why are you crying? Did I say something?" he said frantically, but she silenced him with a kiss on the lips. "Yes, Naruto-kun, you did say something. Something that no one in my very long lifetime has ever said before," she said as she kissed him again, which he returned in full. That was his first kiss. "Present. You want a harem, don't you, Naruto-kun?" Kyuubi teased with a smile. "Yep, and you're part of it, Kyuchan." Naruto smirked inwardly, making his Kyuchan blush furiously. "Oh really?" she replied sultrily. Naruto merely smiled at that. Naruto snapped out of his stupor to find that he was staring at Yuki, and she was blushing under his gaze. He blushed also as he averted his gaze and the actors started to film. Next day. "Well, that's interesting," Naruto commented as he saw the giant iceberg in front of the ship. "Better go wake up everyone else," Naruto said as he sipped some coffee from his mug and headed below deck. "Kumiko-sensei, get up," Naruto said to his sensei's door. She didn't respond, so just walked in to find her on her side facing the wall on her bed sound asleep. Her door was usually locked, but she must have been tired so it wasn't locked. Naruto was about to shake her shoulder, but she mumbled something. Naruto-kun, more Kumiko mumbled, which made Naruto blush. "Right there, Naruto-kun," she said as she turned over in her bed to reveal the completely uncovered face of one Kumiko Hatake. Holy, Naruto was amazed at Kumiko's beauty. He had somewhat expected a butterface, but her face, because of her wearing a mask. She had a heart-shaped face, a set of pink lips, a cute nose, and a scar running over her left eye. Her hair was messily covering parts of her face in which he found cute. "She's gorgeous," he thought. She moaned his name again before she groggily opened her eyes, with them instantly widening at the sight of Naruto. Ba-dum ba-dum ba-dum. Her heartbeat was ringing in her ears. "I owe Madara $5. She does have the Sharingan." Naruto thought before reality hit him. I'll be leaving now, Kumiko-sensei. I just wanted to make sure you were up, he said as he turned on heel to walk out of the door only to stop. And Naruto-kun, please wait, she said in a voice that was pleading. Naruto-kun? He thought as he turned around only for her to walk past her and shut the door clad in her panties and a white t-shirt. What is it, Kumiko-sensei? He asked warily. She didn't respond but instead threw her arms around his neck and smashed her lips to his. His eyes widened before he put his arms around her waist and licked her bottom lip as if asking for entrance. She obliged as they engaged in a tongue war for dominance. After a couple minutes they broke away for ample airflow while they leaned their foreheads together. Now I see why you wear that mask, Kumiko-chan. You're beautiful and you wouldn't want every man fawning over you. He smiled while she pecked him on the lips again. Thanks for the compliment, Naruto-kun, she blushed. Her heart, for the first time in 2.5 months, was finally at ease. I have to ask, where'd you get that Sharingan? He asked as he kissed her on the nose. When I was younger, I lost my left eye. I was friends with an Uchiha at the time, and he gave me his left eye. I keep it covered so I don't suffer from chakra exhaustion, she said as she looked down to see that she was still clad in her panties. She blushed but she didn't care right then. She felt safe and complete in his arms. You remember when our team said their likes and dislikes on the roof a couple months ago? She asked, receiving a hesitant nod from Naruto. It is true that you really like older women? She asked while Naruto smirked. I wouldn't still be holding you if that weren't the case, Kumiko-chan, he said with a smile as he crashed his lips against hers again. The director figured that the iceberg was a perfect place for one of the scenes in the movie to be filmed. Kiba, Shikamaru, and Shino were currently watching over the ship. Sasuke and Sakura were around a heater while Naruto, Anko, Kurenai, and Kumiko were watching the filming. Yuki looked over to Naruto of who was chatting with the three jonin. She couldn't help but feel a small amount of jealousy well up inside of her at the sight. A few minutes later. So princess, you've arrived. Well done, a fat actor in robes and a staff spoke on top of a hill overlooking Princess Gale and her 2 guards. It's you, Mao. The princess said, reading her prop sword. Princess, please stay back. A man with long brown hair said. We'll take care of this for you. A man with white and purple makeup said, getting into his battle stance. The fat actor laughed. Did you honestly think these meager fools could defeat me, princess? The man said, pointing 2 fingers at Yuki only for an explosion to detonate in the background. Was that supposed to happen? The fat actor said, dropping out of character. What do you think you're doing? The director's assistant said as a calm-looking Naruto stood in front of Yuki and the other males with the jackal in hand, it smoking with Anko, Kurenai, and Kumiko behind him, each in a battle stance. There are other ninja here. I suggest you get back. Kurenai-chan, can you help the others get the civilians back to the ship, please? Naruto asked kindly, looking back at her with a smile. She then nodded with a smile and shunshuned to the large group of civilians already being ushered back to the ship with the help of the other genin. Welcome to the land of snow, friends. A man with blue clothing on and strange armor. Naruto and Kumiko narrowed their eyes at the man, but another voice spoke. Greetings, Princess Koiki. I do hope you're still carrying around the hex crystal. A woman with pink hair, hat, blue clothing, and the same strange armor on said as she made her position known on a pillar of ice near the fat actor. Kumiko's eyes widened. Princess Koiki? She said. Sandeu, of who was now standing near the group because of black magic and such, was gaping. This brat's good at detecting chakra. I'll give him that. Another voice set off in the distance to reveal a large man with the same armor and clothing as his friends and a robotic-looking arm to boot. Naruto smirked at the compliment. I'll take on the big guy over there. Since you know the skinny faggot over there, I'll let you have him, Kumiko-chan. Anko-chan, you take on the pink chick, Naruto said, and they nodded and shunshuned to their respective opponents. Naruto was the first to arrive at his opponent of who had just finished snowboarding down the large hill he was on previously. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and you are? Naruto asked as he holstered the jackal. Mizore Fuyukuma, now die. The man said as he charged Naruto with his robotic arm and real arm attempting to flatten him. Too slow, Naruto said with a smirk behind Mizore. Mizore roared as he sent a left hook towards Naruto of who just dodged easily. This is boring. I wonder how Anko-chan and Kumiko-chan are doing, he said aloud as he dodged a very slow and sloppy punch from Mizore before he sent a punch to Mizore's stomach, making the man roll back and collide with a wall. Meanwhile with Anko, Katon, Ryuka no Jutsu. Anko yelled as Fubuki summoned another ice wall to block the deadly fire. This is getting boring. Hayaro no Jutsu. Fubuki yelled as she summoned an ice prison that tried to imprison Anko of who just evaded the ice. Damn, that thing's fast, she thought as she sent another blaze of fire towards Fubuki. She then shunshuned to the right of the pink-haired woman to send yet another burst of flames, all the while having the ice prison chase her. You're a repetitive bitch, eh? Fubuki said with a grin as she finally captured Anko in the ice prison. She smirked confidently only for Anko to transform into the heater. Over here, bitch, Anko said as she reared back a fist for it to connect with Fubuki, sending her off a hill. Anko smirked triumphantly only for Fubuki to come back up with purple wings. Anko narrowed her eyes at the pink-haired bitch. You have no idea how much I hate you right now, Anko muttered, sending a dozen snakes towards the ice user. Meanwhile with Kumiko, yes, it increases the chakra within the body and creates a chakra barrier that blocks the chakra of our adversaries, and as a result ninjutsu and genjutsu are rendered useless, Nadar said as he summoned a Hayatan, Ikakuhakugi, or horned ice whale towards Kumiko, of who tried to counter with a water dragon but failed because of its freezing because of the whale. You aren't going to run like you did last time, right, Kumiko-san? Nadar mocked with a smile. Never. Kumiko retorted as she shunshined behind Nadar and threw him into a wall. Kumiko was about to help Anko or Naruto, but another horned ice whale sprang from the snow and ice below her, with Naruto again. You brat. Fine. I'll just go for the princess then, Mizore said as his robotic hand rocketed towards one Koki of who was sitting on the snow trying to sort out all the suppressed memories in her head that were now flowing back to her. Sandeya was about to jump in the way, but Naruto had the idea to shunshin right in front of the thing to block it with his bare free extended left hand. Going after unprotected women if a real cheap shot, Naruto said as he looked at Mizore in rage before drawing the Inazuma and cutting the robotic hand off, making Mizore's eyes widen in surprise. Naruto was about to retaliate, but he felt the ground shake beneath him. He growled and red-sheathed the Inazuma before Kumiko and Anko shunshined beside him. Naruto-kun, we have to go. This place is falling apart, Anko said worriedly just as Fubuki, Nadar, and Mizore activated their wings and flew away. Grab Sandeyu. I'll get Koki-san, Naruto said as he grabbed the supposed princess just as she snapped out of her stupor just to be scooped up bridal style by Naruto. She blushed as he ran at high speeds back to the ship. He looked down at the princess and smiled, making her blush further. Meanwhile on the ship, and cut! The director shouted excitedly. Man, I hope we got all of that, the director's assistant said exasperatedly. A few hours later the group had arrived at the real land of snow and was unloading all of their equipment, while Naruto was dozing off in a chair in Koiki's room. Kumiko had been in there about an hour earlier for unknown reasons, and Naruto had been in there ever since his sensei had left. She looks so peaceful when she sleeps, he thought with a small smile. Despite the cold attitude towards life, she had her softer side in which she rarely showed, but her softer side was what Naruto would kill to see more of. A moment later she stirred and opened her eyes to see a smiling Naruto. I'm glad you're awake, he said in a voice that made shivers go up her spine and a blush to overtake her features. Why were you in here? She said while her blush died down. To see if you were alright, if that's fine with you, he said with a small grin while yet another blush found its way to her face. There's an emergency meeting in the meeting room. Just go when you're ready, he said as she nodded. She smiled sadly when he left. She really did enjoy his company. Naruto walked in the room to see the rest of Team 7 and 8 with the director, the director's assistant, and Sandeya sitting around a large table while Kumiko was leaning against the wall. Naruto looked to see a seat in between his Kurenai-chan and Anko-chan, and he happily took the seat. She can't really be a princess, can she? That's only in the movies, right? Kiba said. However, Kumiko spoke up. No, Kiba. She goes by the alias Yuki Fujikaze, but her real name is Koiki Kazuhana. Our true objective is to guard Princess Kazuhana, the rightful heiress to the throne to the land of snow. I feared that this mission would progress, but it seems that we're taking on an A-ranked mission now, Kumiko explained, gaining wide eyes from everyone. I met here a long time ago, Sandeya spoke, gaining the attention of everyone present. I was her aide and her sister's aide when they were just little girls. I don't blame her for not remembering me, Sandeya said quietly. So that means that you're from the land of snow, too, doesn't it, Sandeya-san? Anko asked. Sandeya nodded. That's right. I served her father, the leader of the clan, Lord Sosetsu Kazuhana, he said. The land of snow wasn't very large, but it served as a haven for peace, he added. Lord Sosetsu absolutely adored his daughters. Those were prosperous times then. He paused as he adorned a look of hurt on his face. But 10 years ago, that all changed. Lord Sosetsu's younger brother, Doto, hired a group of snow ninja and started a large revolt. He wanted the throne, and that was the only way he saw fit. The Kazuhana castle burned to the ground, and Lord Sosetsu and his youngest daughter, Yukari, Koiki's younger sister, also supposedly died, he said as his face adorned more hurt. I was a chunin at the time and was assigned a mission there to investigate the possible revolt. I was the one who got the princess out of the fire. I couldn't find her sister, but I couldn't find the time to search for the body, Kumiko said, also saddened while Naruto's anger flared at this Doto for causing his Kumiko-chan and Koiki-san pain. The day I figured out our lovely Princess Koiki was alive, I was overcome with joy. She was alive after all those years. Sandeya cried. That just showed the loyalty that kind of man had for the princess. Naruto admired that about him. I should have died back then, a voice said from the doorway, and all heads to turn towards that direction for them to discover that it was none other than Koiki herself. Naruto leaned forward in his chair and closed his eyes. Don't say such things, princess. You couldn't imagine how frantic we all were. We never stopped praying for your life, Sandeya responded. I'm alive but my heart is dead, she said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. After that day of losing my sister and father, all of my tears dried up, Koiki said. Naruto could sympathize with her, but she didn't have to wish she would have died. Some people would have been much more grateful in her position, a lot of people, and that's how and why I became Yuki Fujikaze's manager. I abided my time to escort her back to the land of snow, Sandeya said as he finished drying his tears. So what you're saying is that you've just been using us? The director's assistant. I'm sorry for deceiving you, but it was for the sake of the land of snow's people, Sandeya said as he stood up and ran over to in front of Koiki. Please, Princess Koiki, confront Doto and assume your rightful place as ruler of the land of snow, he said, getting his hands and knees begging her, but all he got was an impassive expression from her in return. I will sacrifice my life without hesitation to protect you. I beg you please confront Doto and rule this place as it is your rightful duty. I don't think so, she said coldly. Naruto scowled as he closed his eyes. This was really pissing him off. You've got to be kidding, said. But what about your people? Sandeya pleaded. I could care less about them, she said, earning wide eyes from everyone. Naruto stood up and walked over to the window so they wouldn't see his expression of rage. Just forget it. But princess, would you knock it off already? Don't be dumb. It doesn't matter what you do, you'll never beat Doto, okay? I'm not going. You and this land of snow can just rot for all I care, she said, but meanwhile in Naruto's mind something snapped. Before anyone could speak, the sound of wood breaking was heard and all turned their heads to Naruto, off whom had snapped a small wooden pillar with his hands. I've been a bounty hunter since I was 8, and you know how many people I've killed? He said loudly enough for everyone in the room to hear. 516 people I've killed, he said, making everyone's eyes widen. Do you think I care how many people you've killed, kid? You just wave it around like a trophy. Do you think we care? She paused as Naruto turned around, his eyes red with slits. Trophy? 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 You think I wear the amount of people I've killed around my waist like a goddamn title? No, I remember the number because it shows how much of a cold-hearted killer I am. I only accepted bounties on people that I thought were most deserving of death. But I still don't think any of them deserved it. I have no idea if some of them were loving fathers or caring husbands, but I followed through with it anyways because we didn't need any more rapists, murderers, thieves, or drug sellers in this world. But you telling your rightful kingdom and undeserving people to rot and declining a man on his hands and knees begging you, Naruto said, releasing a hollow chuckle. That's a new low I never knew existed, he spat. I'm going for a walk, he said as his eyes turned back to normal and he disappearing in a burst of snow while Koiki crumpled down to the floor crying for the first time in 10 years. If you could see Naruto, he was currently walking on a path of snow to who knows where. He didn't care. He just needed something to blow the fuck up. Overlooking the land of snow on a rock ledge that plummeted several hundred yards down, Naruto couldn't help but take in the country's natural beauty. The mountains, the forests, the rivers that flowed, they were all beautiful. He was still beyond frustrated though. He sat down and rubbed his temples just as Kyuubi materialized beside him and leaned on him, her presence soothing him almost instantly. She took one of his hands and intertwined their fingers. Naruto-kun, please stop thinking about this. You know I hate it when it storms in your mindscape, she said while Naruto continued to look off over the landscape. It's hard, Kyu-chan. I know you, Madara-sensei, and Alucard-sensei, trained my emotions better than that, but that's not right what she did to him. I know she must be in pain to come back to the land where her sister and father died, but she doesn't have the right to say that those innocent people should rot, he said as Kyuubi pecked him on the cheek and rested her head on his shoulder. I know, Naruto-kun, but she shouldn't be told what to do. If she wants to take the throne, then that's her decision and not anyone else's, Kyuubi said as Naruto stood up. Naruto-kun, did I say something wrong? She asked fearfully. Naruto didn't say anything but instead walked over the edge of the cliff, only to be found walking on air. I finally got it, Kyu-chan, Naruto smiled. Meanwhile, one Erasure of whom had now woken up from his long nap, climbed out of his position in Naruto's jacket to look down. The small wolf widened its eyes before yipping in disapproval. Naruto chuckled. Kyuubi smiled at her precious Naruto-kun. He had been working on that technique for months, and he finally got it down. By forcing some wind underneath his feet, he did what other people would call impossible. I'm proud, Naruto-kun, she smiled as Naruto walked back on the ledge only to wrap his hands around her waist and pull her into a chaste kiss. She smiled as she threw her arms around his neck to pull him deeper into it. After a couple of minutes, the two broke apart, connected by a small string of saliva. They both smiled. Erasure yipped again, and they both chuckled before Naruto took off his left glove to find a pair of wings tattooed onto his hand. He bit his right thumb to draw blood and pressed it to the seal. It flashed brightly before it revealed to be a small red-scaled creature with leathery wings, hind legs with claws, and horns on its head perched on Naruto's forearm. In case you were wondering, it's a dragon. Yeah, that's right, boys and girls. A motherfucking dragon. What did you need, boss? The red dragon spoke in a human-like voice. I need you to keep me informed on the group I was with earlier's movements, Apsu. Tell me when they move out so I can join them, Naruto said as the now proclaimed Apsu nodded before flying off. He was lucky Naruto remembered that he was a warm-blooded dragon so he wouldn't freeze to death. Kyuubi grabbed Naruto's neck before initiating another tongue war with him in which either won but resulted in his Kyu-chan straddling him waist. Are you excited, Naruto-kun? She said as she grinded her hips onto his manhood, making him bite back a moan. Erasure climbed out of Naruto's coat and trotted away and into the snow before lying down and covering his eyes with his paws. This story doesn't fall far from the lemon tree. However, this scene got caught on the last branch. Enjoy my first ever lime, folks. Little bit, he grinned as he grinded his own hips, making her flush and moan as he rubbed her womanhood. He had to say that this was feeling good. Really good. She waved her hand over the small area to make the ice instantly melt to reveal green grass. Naruto shed his jacket as Kyuubi raked her fingernails over his chest, making him shudder at the feeling. Now, onto the age factor. With her being hundreds if not thousands of years old, she couldn't afford to be picky with her choices in men. So, just make sure she had a reason for this, and to make sure the author wasn't a pervert, in which he already is, she would go over some things she adored about her Naruto-kun. He was kind, he was protective, he was the embodiment of forgiveness, and a 13-year-old with the body of a kami, and the person she dare say, loved with all her heart. Now, back to the lime, and let my cougar-loving fans flourish. Naruto raised himself up and kissed Kyuubi sensually again before trailing kisses down her jawline and onto her neck, making her moan. He sucked on the porcelain skin, marking her. Her moans only excited him to go further. Kyuubi was moaning excitedly at her Naruto-kun's menstruations. She continued to grind to the best of her abilities, making him moan on her neck. The vibrations he caused were making chills go up and down her spine. Naruto decided to go further downward as he slipped her kimono downward and off her shoulders. He kissed each and every place he could find, making the sexy vixen shudder beneath him. He put his hand on her back and picked her up so that she was beneath him. He pulled her red kimono downward enough to reveal none other than her large assets, but not before he completely severed the connection with Madara and Alucard, the former not caring while the latter gave his landlord a very inappropriate hand gesture. No bra, Q-chan? Naughty, he grinned while she blushed furiously while he just continued to stare at the awesomeness of his Q-chan's chest. They're all yours, Naruto-kun, she said as she rocked her shoulders back and forth to make her once D-cupped, now easily D-cup, jiggle and bounce, in which Naruto found to be one of the most sexy things he had ever seen. What can I say? The typical stereotypes on men is that they like large. I'm simply following in my forefathers' footsteps. The blonde decided to experiment with one of the things he read in Ika Ika series. He put a hand on her left breast while he pinched her, now erect, pink, making her moan in pleasure. He scooted up enough to where he was eye level with her and decided to latch onto her left breasts, also erect, pink, with his mouth. She moaned a throaty moan at the action as she rubbed circles on Naruto's back. Her moans further excited him as he pinched her left breasts with his teeth, making her moan again. He sucked on it more vigorously and elicited even more moans from Q-chan. After a minute he decided to attack the unattended breast. He unlatched his mouth from Kyuubi, making her pout in disappointment, but it was quickly replaced by a gasp as he latched his mouth onto her left breast's twin. He was hell-bent on making her feel good before she started on him. After another minute of moans, gasps, shivers, Naruto ceased his menstruations on her chest and she pouted cutely. Why'd you stop, Naruto-kun? She asked with half-lidded eyes. Naruto didn't respond but merely grinned. He untied the cloth that held the two parts of Kyuubi's kimono together to see and fall on either side of her body. He also took note of the yellow panties that she was wearing. Property of Naruto-kun was what was written on them in large black lettering. She blushed deeply as he looked at them curiously, but he soon grinned as he got on his knees and looked at her. He had to say that this wasn't the Q-chan he knew. The usual perverse nature she had was replaced by a submissive woman. He saw her with a needing look on her beautiful face. He saw her deep breathing and her somewhat contemplative look to see what his next move would be. He smiled at her and crawled back up her form again to give her a passionate kiss on the lips. He disengaged the lip lock to nip at her pointed ear, making it twitch cutely and for her to moan lightly. He then started to leave a trail of molten lava kisses down her body and towards her nether regions. He made it the valley of her before kissing each of them, making her moan lightly again. He then restarted his descent towards her awaiting mound. He kissed right above her panty line, making her flat and toned stomach convulse slightly. He gripped each of the yellow panties' elastic sides before he closed his eyes and pulled them downward. Naruto continued to trail kisses all the way from her inner thigh to her ankle. He pulled the yellow article of clothing off of the vixen and laid them aside as he kept his eyes closed. He truly wanted the treasure to a surprise. He then trailed even more molten kisses that made Kyuubi moan in anticipation on the opposite leg. This boy was something else. Not only did he know how to pleasure a woman, make her go absolutely crazy with foreplay alone, but he was also packing a huge piece of meat down there. She shivered in anticipation for the inevitable. As Naruto reached her inner thigh, he opened his eyes to see probably the most incredible thing ever. What he saw had to have been sculpted by the gods. He saw what looked like an untouched slit with a patch of unconnected, neatly groomed, red hair right above it, in which he found to be strangely enticing. He hooked his arms around her thighs before delving into the soaking wet folds. He took one good long solid lick of her mound, in which she moaned loudly. That excited him more so than ever. Using what he read from the Ika Ika books, eating out a girl was a lot like making out with one. He gave another 2 solid licks before she convulsed slightly at the amazing feeling. And Naruto-kun. She moaned his name as he continued his menstruations. He noticed the famed clit escape its hood. From what he read, the clit was a bundle of nerves that affected the female body to no end. Giving another solid lick, he attacked her clitoris by gently nipping and suckling at it. Her eyes went wide as he found her clit. And Naruto-kun, you're so good. More and more, she pleaded as she came closer and closer to her desired high. Her toes curled and her hands found themselves atop his head, gently pulling at his spiky locks. He did as requested and delved his tongue back into her wet folds, twirling it around, making her come ever so close. Her moans were a symphony in his ears. They motivated him to do more for his precious Kyuchan. With one last solid lick, he nipped her clit gently, which made her eyes go wide, and for her hands to push down on his head and for her legs to wrap around his neck to make sure he didn't move an inch to corrupt her orgasmic high. It was as if the dam was broken because of the juices she was letting out. He had to say that his Kyuchan tasted amazing. It was tangy and strong but also sweet. He lapped up all of, not letting a drop of it go to waste. He gave a few final licks and nips just as she let her legs go numb. She was still convulsing, in which he found pride in that he made her feel this good. He didn't say anything but instead prompted to crawl back up her length and give her a passionate kiss, letting her taste herself, in which she did not mind in the least, seeing as how she was still coming off her high. Her precious Naruto-kun gave her. You'd better fix your kimono, Kyuchan, he whispered to her as he nipped her pointed ear again, making her shiver. Why, Naruto-kun? I want to get a taste too. I know this has to be painful, she said sultrily as she ran a hand up his leg, going over the huge bulge trailing down his thigh, making him release a low groan in pleasure. I know, Kyuchan, but Apsu's coming back. I can sense him. And like you Panty said, you're mine and I will never let anyone else see you like this. He smiled as she gave him a smile of her own and a kiss as well. She fixed her kimono and slipped back on her yellow panties, which made Naruto smile largely. After another minute, Apsu came back and landed on Naruto's shoulder. They've stopped at a bridge north of here, but right now they're looking for the princess, or whatever. They said she ran off into the forest, or something. I had to stay hidden, so I only heard select parts of it, boss. Sorry, Apsu chuckled. It's fine, Apsu. Thanks for the info. You can go back now, he said, and Apsu nodded before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Alright, I gotta go look for the princess. I'd like to continue this, but duty calls. Any? He said before she gave him a deep kiss. I know, Naruto-kun. Try to add another harem member for me. She winked, which made him blush as she dispelled. Erasure climbed back in his jacket to his favorite spot and started to doze off. He sighed as he walked into the forest. Naruto-kun! Where are you? I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, Koyuki pleaded with the forest. She had done some thinking over the hours he had been away, and all the thoughts had come to the conclusion that she had brought him more pain than he did her. She ran up a small hill to see if she saw him from up there, but with no such luck. She sighed sadly as she walked slowly down the hill, but she tripped up and tumbled down the slope. She laid there for a moment before she heard footsteps. Great, someone found me now. I'll never tell Naruto-kun how I feel, she thought before she looked up to see none other than the person she wanted to see the most then at that moment. Why were you looking for me? He asked in a normal tone as he picked her up bridal style and began to carry her back to the place where everyone else was at. Apsu said it was north, so that was where he would be going. As soon as Naruto picked the actress up, a blush overtook her features at the contact. I was worried for you, she said as she looked at the ground as a blush became dominant on her porcelain skin. Naruto snorted in amusement. Sure you were, he said sarcastically. After a few minutes of silence and Naruto entering a large cave, she spoke again. I'm sorry, she trailed off. What are you talking about? I was the one who was acting like a 2-year-old, he said with a smirk. No, Naruto-kun, I was. I shouldn't have said that about those people. I still don't know if I'm going to take the throne, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, she repeated. Naruto merely smiled. Apology accepted, he said as his smile turned into a foxy grin. He was, however, thinking about why she was calling him Naruto-kun, though. Heart jumped for joy in her chest at those words. She did, however, want to confirm the feelings she had for the blonde. After steeling her resolve, she spoke again. May I request something, Naruto-kun? She asked. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Sure, Koyuki-chan, he said cautiously. Koyuki's eyes widened at the name, and she quickly blushed up a storm. These alien feelings she was having were making her feel good and bad at the same time. She had butterflies that probably wouldn't go away even if she cut her stomach open, the jitters when he was simply near, and the fact that he was still holding her didn't make anything better. She looked at his face and into the blue eyes that showed unconditional love for a few select people, the ones that held so much power it made her weak in the knees. She looked at the faint whisker marks on his cheeks, and just thought they were the cutest things in the world. His face, oh, she could go on and on about how handsome he was, his angled jawline, his cute nose. She smiled thinking about it. Can you set me down for a second, please? She asked. Naruto didn't find anything wrong with it, so he obliged and put her down, only for her to immediately put her arms around his neck. Naruto's eyes widened. My request, may I kiss you, Naruto-kun? She asked as she leaned in closely. Naruto's shocked expression turned into a smile as he put his arms around her waist. He honestly didn't understand why women flocked to him like a moth to a flame, but he didn't care. But he did fail to understand why she was trying to kiss him, and yet he said those hurtful things. Women were confusing, not an inch away from each other's lips. Naruto's ear twitched slightly at the sound of something loud, something mechanical, something big. I'm sorry, Koikiheim, but we've got to move, Naruto said, making her take on a questioning look. Why, Naruto-kun? She asked sweetly, but then she heard it. Naruto's eyes narrowed on wood and metal that seemed to melt the ice around it on the cave floor. What is that? He asked, looking at the metal strips that seemed to stretch forever in either direction in the cave. Those are railroad tracks, Naruto-kun, but we've got to move, now, she said frantically as Naruto nodded. The noise was almost deafening as they looked behind them to see a mass of metal and would speed towards them. Naruto scooped up Koiki bridal style again, and shined as fast as he could out of the cave, but the so-called train was hot on his trail. When he exited the cave, he saw trucks moving out of the way of the train's path. He also saw Team 8 and 7 off to the side, wide-eyed at the huge mass of metal and wood. Are you guys alright? Naruto asked worriedly after he shined to the Leaf Shinobi's and Kunoichi's location. We should be asking you that, Naruto-kun. Where were you? Kurenai asked worriedly as Koiki was lowered to the ground by Naruto. I was getting my thoughts together, and I stumbled upon Koiki-chan on my way over here. Naruto lied smoothly, receiving a nod from the Jonin. Team 7 and 8, make sure the civilians are secured. We have no idea what the people in the train are going to do, Kumiko said, receiving nods from the surprisingly submissive Uchiha and other genin excluding Naruto. I trust because I need to help destroy this thing is why you didn't say anything when I didn't leave? Naruto questioned with a smirk. You deduce things faster and faster, Naruto-kun, Anko said with a smile just as two people exited the caboose of the train. One being Nadar from the previous day and the other Naruto recognized from the bingo books. Greetings, I am Doto Kazuhana. Please hand over the princess so that we may negotiate like civil human beings. Doto smiled, but before anyone could retort, a declaration was made from the top of a steep hill by one sensei dressed in green samurai armor, though he was accompanied by several dozen men, each with swords, spears, or halberds as weapons in their hands. There you have it, men! Our beloved Princess Koiki is here to watch over us. With her at our side, victory is ours. And with that, the men cheered and they drew their swords or readied their weapons for a charge. Hear me, Doto, we have waited a long time for this day of reckoning to come. I have 50 loyal warriors stand before you to avenge our great fallen leader, so said Sasama. On this day, you will breath no more. He cheered, making the other warriors cheer with him. A moment later they charged. Naruto could only watch, wide-eyed at the men's stupidity. The train was bound to have weapons on board. He prayed a silent prayer. He could do nothing as he watched the warriors go to the inevitable deaths. He did, however, have to admire the absolute courage and faith the men had. As if on cue, the doors to each of the train's segments' side doors opened to reveal what looked like compartments that looked like they fired some sort of projectile. I've saw these before, but where fuck, Naruto swore. Kami, take these men's brave souls and make them rest easy. Not a second later, several thousands of kunai were projected towards the brave men who showed no regret or fear. Naruto blinked to see the men being slaughtered by the waves of kunai being thrown at them, each still trying to desperately charge to avenge their fallen leader. After it was said and done, only one person remained standing. That was one Sendai Wasama. Sendai Koiki trailed off as she subconsciously stood and walked slowly over to the wobbling old caretaker. Reloading the MKS, multiple kunai shooter, was always time-consuming. You had to line up a row of kunai on a metal conveyor and load them into the MKS by pushing it forward and repeating the process over and over again. A skilled loading team of 5 could reload it twice within 10 seconds. We had a particularly slow reloading team in the center cart that particular day. Sendai, I'm sorry, she said sadly. Princess Koiki, please move before you get hurt, he said as he coughed up blood. Meanwhile, with Naruto, he looked beside him and then looked to how fast she moved to get to the position where she was. He would have been impressed with her use of black magic and such, but right then just wasn't the time. He made a split-second decision. He noticed that each time one of the MKSs would fire, they would make a distinct cling, and then they would fire their volley on several hundred of kunai. He heard the cling and shunshined right in front of the princess before pulling her into an embrace and pulling her to the ground with him covering him. Naruto closed his eyes and waited for the pain. Sendai smiled at Naruto before he saw the hundreds of kunai being rocketed towards him. Naruto Kyuubi, Kumiko, Anko, and Kurenai yelled from their hiding positions, waiting to detonate the bridge whenever the train would cross it. Naruto felt about 24 different pieces of metal sticking out of his back when the volley was finished. He heard a thud which signified that Sendai had fallen. Idiot, Naruto spoke about Koiki as he spat some blood over to right of him, as he smiled wearily to Koiki of who was below him. Naruto-kun, Koiki said with teary eyes as the sacrifice he had just made, but she did have the distinct feeling that he would survive. Before any of the Jonin could act, Naruto stood and drew both the jackal and Kasul both before turning around. He then did some last-minute calculations. There are 12.5 carts which have 5 men to load the MKSs. 5 times 18 is 9,606 kills. Here I come, Naruto thought sadly as he pointed the 2 firearms at the train and pushed about small pool full of chakra into them before he pulled the triggers. If you were a bystander, you would have seen large masses of blue chakra hurtling towards the mass of wood and metal. You could hear screaming from the occupants inside as it collided with the train, making it explode in a glorious display. A chain reaction went from the impact points throughout the train. Naruto did a silent prayer again before he holstered both of his guns. He turned around and Koyuki could see the hurt written on his face before he scooped her up bridal style and shunshined over to where the rest of the shinobi, kunoichi, and civilians were. He put Koyuki down before Kurenai shunshined into sight. Naruto-kun, are you alright? We need a doctor over here, Kurenai said frantically, but Naruto shook his head before all of the kunai were pushed out of his back and plummeted to the ground. What the hell, Kiba said, a little irked at the sight. After Naruto's wounds closed in a little less than a few seconds, his clothing also repaired itself thanks to it being comprised of chakra. He popped his neck and chuckled. Being the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki has its perks, he said, but all that earned him was a good slap in the face from Anko and Kumiko on opposite cheeks, of whom had shunshined into sight not moments before. Don't scare us like that again, Naruto-kun, Anko said with tears brimming in her eyes. She rarely cried, but when she did, she made sure it was for a damn good reason. I know, we wouldn't know what to do if you left us again. I'll kill you myself if you do that again, Kumiko said, visibly crying also for the genin she had kissed not 8 hours. Shikamaru, Shino, Sasuke, Sakura, Kiba, go check for survivors, Kurenai said, and the genin nodded before taking off on their assigned task. Naruto merely sighed before he took both Anko and Kumiko into a warm embrace. I promise I won't do that again, he smiled as they wiped their eyes on his white trench coat. After a minute they back away and he walked over to Koyuki and put a hand on her shoulder before asking, Are you alright, Koyuki-chan? He asked worriedly. Why yes, thanks to you, Naruto-kun, she smiled sadly. Meanwhile the three jonin quirked up eyebrows at the chan and kun, then they all sighed internally. Freaking stud, they smiled. Kurenai-sensei, Sandeya-san is still alive. We have suppressed the bleeding, but we fear he may not make it. He wishes to speak to you, Kazuhana-san, Shino said with a bow. Naruto, the three jonin, and one Kazuhana heiress nodded and traveled over to where one Sandewa-sama was resting on a stretcher. He was bleeding heavily and Red Dagger was resting to his left on the stretcher. Princess Koyuki, I have failed you. I never should have gotten you in on all this, he grunted from the pain. I only wish I could see you to take the throne and have a family, he paused. And Naruto-san. I must request something of you, he said as some tears fell from Koyuki's eyes and onto his cheek. Anything, old man, Naruto smiled sadly while Sandeya chuckled weakly. See, continue to protect the princess. Do what I could not, Naruto-san, I'd be beg of you, he said pleadingly. With my life, Naruto responded while Sandeya smiled, but not a second later his eyes went dull. Koyuki smiled as she took the dagger as something to remember him by. She put the dagger into her pink coat and smiled sadly before she let the floodgates to her eyes break loose and Naruto took her into a warm embrace. A minute later she wiped her eyes and looked up to Naruto and smiled. However, the smile was short-lived, seeing as Naruto's eye narrowed onto yet another mass of metal and would attach to a cloth balloon. Yet not a second later a rope flew from the mass and attached itself to Koyuki's midsection and made her fly off the edge and onto the contraption. Naruto-kun! Koyuki shouted as she flew onto the contraption. Naruto's eyes widened and he flung a kunai with a string attached to it at the blimp, in which he succeeded in attaching it to the blimp. I'm gonna kill him, Kumiko muttered as she saw Naruto climb diligently up the rope. He knows what he's doing, Kurenai said, her voice full of hope. I hope, Anko finished. Naruto, being the genius he was, sealed all of his weapons in blood seals on his left and right arms. He then decided it would be fun to see what it was like to be captured. All for shits and giggles, of course. Being tied up, he was pushed into an elevator and brought up to the captain's deck of the blimp. He saw something that made his blood boil to supernova levels. What he saw was Dodo with his filthy hands around Koyuki-chan's neck. He did, however, need to keep his anger in check or it would be used against him. He steeled his nerves and was pushed to the floor by two of the snow shinobi. Now, Koyuki, give me the hex crystal. This one is clearly a fake, so where is the real one? Dodo barked as he let Koyuki fall to the floor. However, instead of her answering, Nadar, of who had been here the whole time, answered. It would be wise to assume that Kumiko-san swapped the crystal for a fake, the snow shinobi said. After a moment of contemplation, Dodo nodded and turned his attention to the blonde on his knees. Ah, Naruto-san, how nice of you to join us, Dodo smiled. I wish this could be under better circumstances. But you know, me being tied up and all kinda ruined the occasion, Naruto grinned slightly. Humor even in the face of death, you amuse me, Naruto-san. Dodo smiled. He helped Koyuki to her feet haphazardly, making Naruto grit his teeth inwardly. Now, Naruto-san, do you know where the hex crystal is? Dodo asked politely with an eerie smile. And if I did? Naruto retorted with a smirk. He truly did not know what the fuck a hex crystal was, but he honestly didn't give a fuck either. All he wanted was Koyuki-chan's safety. If that's how you want to be, then you will be my newest test subject. Nadar, bring in the chakra absorption device, Dodo commanded, though he looked back to Naruto, of who just still kept up the confident smirk, and Dodo immediately scowled at this. He would break this boy if it was the last thing he did. Here you are, Dodo-sama, Nadar said as he came back with a small, palm-sized device that looked like a gear with blue and red yin-yang symbols that represented the physical and spiritual aspects of chakra itself. Doto grabbed the device and walked over to Naruto, the ruler of the land of snow's smug expression never leaving his face. Koike simply watched, wide-eyed as her uncle placed the device on Naruto, and wires immediately latched out from the device and embedded themselves into Naruto's chest. She wanted to scream, she wanted to help her Naruto-kun, but she was paralyzed in fear as electricity coursed throughout Naruto's form. He convulsed slightly as the electricity surged, but he looked up with a smirk on his face that warmed Koiki's heart to the core. But no sooner he fake passed out. He sure was good at playing dead. He really had gotten worse beatings when he was a kid, so the electricity was nothing. But he did have to admit that getting captured wasn't all that enjoyable, so when he got back home he'd cross that adventure off his bucket list. Naruto-kun! Koike yelled sadly as the blimp made its way to the Kazahana castle. Alright, here's the battle plan, Kumiko said as she unraveled a map of Kazahana castle. The remainder of Team 7 and Team 8 were huddled around waiting their sensei's plan of action. Enko-chan, you, Sasuke, Sakura, Kiba, and Shino will make a distraction at the main gates while Kurenai-chan, Shikamaru, and I go in towards their detention center to see if we can free Naruto-kun and Princess Koike. Shikamaru's shadow possession will be invaluable if we need to silence any guards before they raise any alarms in that section of the castle. While I'm confident in Kurenai-chan's genjutsu abilities to mask us, we may need a backup plan. Any objections? Kumiko explained. She had been given permission by the Hokage to take complete control over the mission if necessary, just in case they could not come to a joint conclusion on things. Enko and Kurenai had agreed to it, so they held no complaints now. She did, however, like to give Naruto-kun command to test his leadership skills, and so far she was damn impressed. Aside from taking the kunai to the back and letting himself get captured, Erasure meanwhile was very upset that his master had left him behind. Akamaru had explained to him in dog language that Naruto did not want Erasure to get hurt, but Erasure still whined anyhow. I don't see why we need to go get the dough. He let himself get captured in the first place. Sasuke spoke, receiving glares from everyone except the Banshee and Shino. Primal growls were heard from Kiba, Erasure, and Akamaru while Shikamaru fumed. Kumiko was about to speak so very hurtful words to the Uchiha, but Kurenai beat her to it. Sasuke, he let himself get captured to ensure the safety of Princess Koike. He wouldn't have done that without good reason, Kurenai scolded the Uchiha. He would speak up, but he knew he'd just be looking for more D-ranked missions if he did that. Those missions would just wear on his abilities. So he swallowed his pride hard and remained quiet. Kumiko nodded to Kurenai and mouthed a thank you along with Enko, and Kumiko resumed. Now we will attack within 4 hours. Get some rest and rather your supplies, Kumiko said as the genin nodded. After the genin cleared out save for Erasure, of who was whimpering in a corner, while Kurenai was petting him to try and keep the dog calm. After a minute of silence, Enko spoke. Do you guys remember when he told you he was a bounty hunter? She said, in which both perked up and nodded hesitantly. Did you ever get the feeling that he only told part of the truth? Naruto was currently in chains, being hugged from the ceiling and attached to the ground by his wrists and ankles in a prison cell in the Kazahana dungeon. Koike-chan was being held unrestrained in the cell across from the walkway from him. But they also had another guest that had been in the cell ever since Koike arrived in the land of snow. After sealing away to unreachable portions of Naruto's mind, Naruto's chakra was just waiting to be unleashed on Doto. He could have easily broke the chains and escaped the cell and helped the other 2 occupants inside the cell block. But he needed for Teams 7 and 8 to attack so he could escape with Koike and her. Yukari, you have no idea how much I've missed you. Koike cried as she tried to reach her sister through the bars, but it was futile. Yukari smiled with tears also in her eyes. She was basically a younger version of Koike, except her hair was silver and her eyes were green. I know, Koike-ne-san. I missed you so much, Yukari cried with tears of joy. After a small amount of catching up with the 2 women, Naruto cleared his throat. How long have you been kept in the dungeon, Yukari? Naruto asked. About 3 days. I've been allowed to roam the grounds, but ever since Koike-ne-san came back I've been locked up. If you're curious if I like the man, then you are sorely mistaken. I hate the man, Yukari said with venom as she dried her tears, but no sooner an explosion shook the castle. About time, Naruto muttered as he dislocated his wrists and ankles before he fell to the floor and popping the force joints back into place. Naruto looked at the bars and shook his head. He materialized the chakra-enhanced kunai with the Yin release, but not before receiving shocks that made him roll his eyes. Pitiful. I experienced more pain in training with the Inuzuka, Naruto scoffed as the bars fell. Holy cow, Yukari gaped. I think I'll keep this thing on. I like challenges, Naruto said, making Yukari and Koike sweat drop. Once freeing the sisters, Naruto and company made their way to a catwalk where 2 female snow kunoichi and 1 short snow shinobi were waiting for them. Huh, you need better disguises, Kurenai-chan, Kumiko-chan. Especially you, Shikamaru. I can see your hair from a smile away, Naruto grinned while the 3 nin uncovered their masks. Erasure hopped out of Kumiko's care and leaped to his master, Naruto. Good to see you, too, Erasure, Naruto smiled as the wolf found its way to Naruto's head. Who are you? Kumiko asked Yukari. Yukari Kazahana, Koike-ne-san's sister, Yukari said proudly while Kumiko's, Kurenai's and Shikamaru's eyes widened. Enough gaping, We need to confront Doto and end this, Naruto said as the other 5 nodded and Yukari led them to the throne room. Along the way Kumiko passed Koiki the real hex crystal in which Koiki smiled at. Shikamaru, go help the others, Kurenai said, and the Nara genius nodded before he exited the main hall doors and out to the courtyard where his fellow genin and respective jonin were fighting the snow nin. Ah, Koiki-san, I do hope you enjoyed your reunion with your sister, Doto smiled smugly. Shut up, uncle. Koiki-ne-san has come to take her rightful place as ruler over the land of snow, Yukari said proudly while Koiki walked forward and took the hex crystal off her neck and walked up the stairs to stand beside Doto, making everyone's eyes to narrow. Good job, Koiki-san, I knew I could count on you, Doto said as he took the hex crystal gently and looked at it with a triumphant expression. Koiki-ne-san, what are you doing? Yukari said. It was all an act, Koiki said coldly, making every flinch except for Naruto. And a very good one at that, Doto added as he continued to inspect the crystal. Koiki smiled sadly. Yes, it was, but I'd never betray Naruto-kun, she said as she drew Sandae's dagger and piercing Doto's chest. I'm a liar, uncle. You shouldn't believe me, Koiki said as she looked at a wide-eyed Naruto as she backed up to the edge of the throne platform, hell-bent on pushing Doto over the edge. No, Ne-san. Don't. Yukari pleaded before Koiki mouthed sorry to her before pushing Doto off the edge with her. The two landed with Koiki on top and a still smug Doto on bottom. He pushed Koiki off rather violently before he ripped off his robes to reveal a set of advanced chakra armor. This is my latest prototype of chakra armor. If you think this puny dagger can stop me, then you are sorely mistaken, he said, removing the dagger before tossing it on the ground beside Koiki. Naruto was hell-bent of a challenger of some sort, but he would not have any harm come to anyone for the sake of it, but he deduced that Doto would not harm Koiki, so he decided to see what would happen. Not a second later Doto punched a wall to reveal a forest. He then shot rope around Koiki, and the two rocketed outside. I'll chase after them. Kumiko-chan, Kurenai-chan, help deal with the rest of the snow nin, please? Naruto asked as he hooked his arm around Yukari's waist. The two jonin nodded before they shunshined out of the room just before Naruto did as well. Do you see this, Princess Koiki? This is what the hex crystal was made for, Doto said as he walked up to an altar that was surrounded by 8 huge pillars that had what looked like glass on them. Koiki could only watch, wide-eyed as Doto pushed the hex crystal into the slot. A flash of light enveloped the area before the hex crystal shined onto each of the pillars. The snow then seemed to melt all around in an instant. Doto's anger was rising quickly. This is the weapon. What is this trickery? The enraged Doto said before turning around to see one Naruto with a chakra absorption device in hand before he crushed it. How? Doto questioned. I was looking for a challenge, but seeing as how you just love to hit Koiki-chan, I will make sure you die slowly, Naruto said as his weapons returned to his shoulder holsters and swords at his hips. Before Doto could blink, he was staring straight into the red eyes of Naruto. Naruto only muttered one word. Amaterasu, before Doto was consumed in black flames. Naruto looked away but walked over to Koiki and Yukari before shielding their vision of the burning Doto. Naruto did, however, want the head to be not burnt so that he could collect his bounty on the land of Snow Leader. 607 Naruto thought as he severed the head of Doto and put it in a sealing scroll as the Amaterasu disintegrated the rest of the body. Koiki-chan, Naruto called out, making her turn to him to see his eyes back to normal. Yes, Naruto-kun? She asked as he put his arms around his waist, and she put her arms around his neck. Do you still have that request? He smiled. Request? She questioned playfully. I demand it now, she said before smashing her lips to his while Yukari awed in the background and the film crew was grinning at the awesome footage. 1 week later, the now proclaimed Land of Snow was renamed Land of Spring and every one of the civilians were out celebrating their new queen Yukari Kazuhana. The same day that all of Doto's men and other henchmen were killed, Koiki was asked if she wanted to take the crown. She thought of Naruto at the time, but he said it was her decision. She thought about it for a couple days before she realized that her sister was perfectly capable of leading the country. She was kinda being selfish, but the newly reinstated council didn't mind in the least so long as Koiki acted as an advisor to Yukari from time to time. Yukari knew the people more, and she was also of legal age to take the throne. Plus, it was always Yukari's dream to rule the Land of Snow. She got her wish. So Koiki was now officially with Naruto, and the blonde didn't mind in the least, but he would have explaining to do when he got Konoha with his other female friends. So, after sending Apsu to inform the Hokage of the new addition to the village and after the huge celebration and many drinks later, the film crew, Team 8, Team 7, and Koiki Kazuhana began their voyage back to Konoha. So, Naruto-kun, you would like for her to live with you at the Namikaze compound? Hiruzen asked with a raised eyebrow. If it's fine with you, GG, Naruto said with a smirk. Approved, the Hokage smiled. All of you will be compensated for the usual price for an A-ranked mission. And thank you for the complete report, Kumiko-san, Anko-san, and Kurenai-san. I wish to speak to Naruto-kun alone now, Hiruzen said, and Team 7 and 8 bowed before they left with Koiki. Alright, first things first, get the ANBU out of here, please, Naruto requested, and Hiruzen nodded before a window opened and closed within the space of a second. Naruto also placed a sound seal on the room before he sat down in a chair and tossed a scroll to Hiruzen. How much would I get for that? Naruto asked. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow before he opened the scroll to see the slightly burned head of Doto Kazuhana roll out of it. Didn't see that coming, Hiruzen sighed. Doto Kazuhana? Naruto nodded. 300k, thank you, Naruto-kun. And there is also something else that bothers me in the report. What is it, Gigi? Naruto asked almost rhetorically. You obliterated a train with little effort. You bypassed chakra armor. You took Toe Dozen kunai to the back and you healed within a matter of seconds. You destroyed a chakra absorption machine with brute force. Do not lie to me, Naruto-kun. Tell me exactly what you did during the 6 years, 9 months you were gone, Hiruzen said seriously. Naruto sighed before his jacket turned to a black color, making Hiruzen narrow his eyes. With a wave of his hand, Kyuubi, Alucard, and Madara each appeared with serious expressions on their faces, making Hiruzen's eyes widen. Not done yet, Gigi. Naruto sighed again as he reached into his jacket and took out an orange mask Hiruzen was all too familiar with and threw it on Sarutobi's desk. Naruto stood and bowed before he spoke. Black Death at your service. Black Death at your service, Naruto said with a light bow. Hiruzen's pipe dropped from his mouth, and luckily it wasn't lit. He blinked twice before saying something. Is this a joke, Naruto? Because if it is, I will have you doing D-rank missions for a year, Hiruzen said very seriously. You don't joke about those kinds of things, especially about being the most loved and frightening bounty hunter in the world. He is speaking the truth, Hiruzen, Madara said evenly, making the Hokage's eyes widen further. And Madara Uchiha? Sarutobi said shakily. Don't forget me, Alucard grinned. Alucard, the demon among demons? Hokage said as he paled considerably. Oh, Naruto-kun, he doesn't know who I am, Kyuubi said with mock sadness as she sat on the now sitting Naruto's lap before putting her arms around his neck. Naruto-kun, who is that? Hiruzen asked. He honestly didn't care anymore either. I'll tell you, but just don't freak out, Naruto said as he pulled away from a lip lock Kyuchan had him in. I won't freak out, Naruto-kun. Madara Uchiha and Alucard the demon have just materialized in my office. There is nothing else you can throw at me, Hiruzen said confidently. She's Kyuubi no Yoko, Naruto said evenly. Hiruzen opened and closed his mouth about half a dozen times before saying something. The Kyuubi is a woman? That's what I said, Alucard said, coupled with a grin as he earned a punch from Madara. Sexist, the SS class Nin said as he rubbed his temples. Hiruzen sighed as he got back onto the task at hand. He reached in his desk and pulled out the last edition of the bingo book. You, my boy, have one of the highest bounties in the world. Flip to page. He was cut off by Naruto. Page 3, yeah? I buy one every 2 weeks, GG, Naruto smirked. Hiruzen rolled his eyes. Look at it anyways. Naruto complied as he picked up the book and flipped it to page 3. Name, Black Death. Gender, male. Hair color, red. Eye color. Natural eye color is unknown. Noticeable traits/features. Wears orange mask with this black swirls revolving around the right eye. Black trench coat. Black pants. Black fingerless gloves with external metal plating. Black boots and black mesh shirt. Weaponry. 2 broadswords situated on his back. Height. 5 feet 5 inches to 5 feet 7 inches. Village affiliation. None and or unknown. Threat level. S rank. Ninja rank unknown. Warnings. Flee on sight unless there are more than 2 S-class Nin accompanying you, yet it is still unadvised. Other known information. Superhuman strength and speed. Can regenerate severed limbs. Unknown for internal organs. Known Kekai Genkai is Mangekyo Sharingan, yet has no traits for being an Uchiha. Has space-time technique similar to Yandame Hokage's but shows no signs of Hiraishin. Each time he has been sighted he is noticeably taller than the previous sighting. It is believed that he is in his teens. Collective bounties. 150 million Ryo. I have 2 questions. Why is it that it says 2 broadswords on his back, when you have 2 Chikotos at your hip? Hiruzen asked skeptically. And why does it say that his hair is red when yours is clearly blonde? Genjutsu. How do you expect people in the village to look at me and then at a bingo book, GG? You gotta put your head in the game. And every time I put my mask on, he said, adjusting his mask on his face, my hair turns red and my voice gets distorted, Naruto explained, earning a rubbing of the temples and sigh from Sarutobi. The other question is, how can you regenerate your limbs and how does anyone know you can do that? He asked while Naruto chuckled nervously. I was fighting 3 swordsmen of the mist, and there were some bystanders? He chuckled while Hiruzen sighed. Silence reigned until Naruto spoke again. How they got the threat level wrong, Naruto mumbled. What are you talking about, Naruto-kun? S rank is the highest rank aside from X rank. No one in over a century has achieved that rank, Sarutobi said as he rubbed his temples again. Kyuubi stood up and Naruto rolled up his coat sleeves to reveal thick black lines for tattoos, in which he proceeded to put his arms up in an X fashion. The tattoos then glowed. I am Impossible, yes, Impossible, Sarutobi stuttered. Hey, if you have Kyuchan and 2 legendary SS-class Nina senseis for almost 7 years, then it's pretty far from impossible. In case you are wondering, each of their reserves, as well as my own, is at my command. So unless I proceed to make dozens of separate Chibaku tenseis, then I'll most likely never run out of chakra, Naruto explained as he rolled his sleeves back down. What is this Chibaku tensei you speak of? Sarutobi asked. Rinnegan technique, Naruto said bluntly. I would say you're lying, But you'll just prove me wrong. May I see the Rinnegan? Hiruzen asked with a blank expression. Sure, GG, Naruto responded as he closed his eyes to blink only to open them again. Hiruzen gasped as he saw the light purple eyes with 2 black rings around them. Huh, what brought about the second level? Naruto asked, and his 3 tenants shrugged. I have never seen these eyes in my lifetime. Has anyone else seen them? Hiruzen asked as he rested his chin on his intertwined fingers. Koiki-chan and Kumiko-chan only because I used them to get Koiki to pass out, and Kumiko was there when I made Koiki pass out, Naruto explained. Hiruzen nodded in understanding. He was glad that no one else knew about the eyes. If they did, Naruto would be in some deep shit. What do they do? He asked. I will answer this, Naruto, Madara said as Kyuubi-chan sat back on Naruto's lap and nuzzled into his neck. Unlocking the Rinnegan gives you natural affinities to the 5 basic elements: lighting, water, fire, earth, and wind. Sub-elements are also included, but they require more training. They also give you an edge if you are trying to master the Yin release, Yang release, and Yin-Yang release. They also give you control over gravity if you train enough with them. Like the Byakugan and Sharingan, they let you see chakra but on a more detailed scale. There are also the paths of pain. There are 6 of them, Madara explained, releasing a breath. The Naraka path, the Prika path, the Deva path, the human path, the animal path, and the Asura path. As for their abilities, I will not tell you, seeing as how deception is one of the shinobi's greatest weapons. We do not wish for there to be any leaks on this, Madara finished. That is understandable. Naruto, are there any more things I need to know about? Hiruzen asked. Naruto thought for a second and snapped his fingers. Hey, Gigi, is there a piece of furniture that you want in the office but you never got around to putting it in? Naruto asked. Well, yes, a table there in the corner where I can place any documents for getting back to. But I don't see how that has to do with anything, Sarutobi said as he looked strangely at the teen. Sure it won't, Naruto grinned as he extended a hand and used the wood of the floor to make a table similar looking to the fashion of the rest of the room. And Mokutan, Hiruzen said incredulously. Naruto simply whistled innocently. You're one of the few people I trust completely, Gigi. You're also the first person to see this aside from these 3, Naruto said, gesturing to Madara, Alucard, and Kyuubi. Now, Madara had the Rinnegan, however this is a natural bloodline from my Senju blood. You know the Uzumakis are distant relatives of the Senjus, right? Naruto said, earning a nod from Hiruzen. Madara gave me access to his Sharingan as well as Mokutan bloodlines. I've mastered up to 6 tails with Kyuubi-chan, and I'm just now starting to unlock Alucard's abilities and bloodlines, all the while continuing my training with the Rinnegan, Naruto explained. He was feeling like a hypocrite seeing as how he completely trusted his GG minutes after he mentally told Madara not to explain the paths. You're turning into quite the god complex, aren't you, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen joked. It's because of him, Naruto said, pointing to a teen with brown, skater hair, white tee, blue jeans, black sneakers with a red swoosh on either side, hazel eyes, rugged complexion, sitting in a chair in the far corner with a laptop in his lap, seemingly typing something. Don't mind me, the teen said as he continued to type. Now, I have yet another question, Naruto-kun. I realized that Kyuubi-san was sealed into you. How did Madara-san and Alucard-san get sealed into you as well? Hiruzen asked. Madara was controlling Kyuubi-chan and was on her back while Alucard hitching a ride. I yet to see if that was a lie, but I never really looked into it, Naruto chuckled. Madara, you were controlling Kyuubi-san? The Hokage said as he leaned back in his chair. Madara sighed as he told the Hokage what happened with the group of 5 and how they blackmailed him into attacking Konoha. The Hokage took it well and told him that he could have possibly done the same if he were in Madara's shoes. Hiruzen then contemplated the earlier statement about the Senjus. Tsunade was a Senju, yet law dictates that if a clan head is missing, out of the village, or inactive for 10 years yet is still alive, then the title is passed down to the next heiress, or closest relative, Naruto being that relative. Naruto-kun, you were saying that the Senjus are distant relatives of the Uzumaki clan, yes? He asked, and Naruto nodded. He saw a look of understanding flash across Madara's face, seeing as how the supposed clan head, Tsunade Senju, has not returned to the village in over 12 years, and the Uzumakis are distant relatives of them. I hope you know where I'm going with this. You want me to be the head of the Uzumakis, Namikes, and Senjus? Naruto asked. Well, more like sighed. Yes, I do. I believe you can handle that type of responsibility. Seeing as how you control about 25% of Konoha right now, this would bump you up to 40%, even seeing as how the Senjus founded Konoha. I know you aren't looking for more political power, but this would wrestle away some of the power the civilians have. I've been trying to accomplish this for the past 5 years, and with this the civilian council will soon be an advisory council. Hiruzen grinned evilly. Naruto had to agree. Most on the civilian council were enraged that Naruto had been given the 2 clan head positions. The Haruno woman, Banshee Sans Kothing, would screech in his ear every time a comment was directed towards him, and the wealthy merchant families would complain right behind her. Naruto had the full support from the Shinobi Council, especially the Nara, Uchiha, and Inuzuka clans. Devious plan, Hiruzen-san, and they call me a demon, Kyuubi said with a chuckle, making Naruto laugh lightly as well. Alright, I'll do it, Naruto said. The Uzumaki Namikaze Senju Triumvirate would soon be in effect. Alright, Naruto-kun, But you know this just means more paperwork for you, correct? Hiruzen shuddered. The boy would have just as much paperwork as him. Naruto was about to respond but refrained. He then looked at the teen of who was still sitting in the corner typing on his laptop, and the teen just gave him a thumbs up before Naruto answered, "Hey, Gigi, can I have a Sanin-level transport pass as well two other things?" Naruto asked. "Now I don't know what brought that on, but you know I can't do that and it depends on what these things are," Hiruzen replied. "What if I told you the secret to paperwork?" Naruto responded deviously. The Hokage's eyes widened. He then gained a feral expression and leaped over the desk. "What is it? Tell me. Tell me now," he yelled. Naruto presumed that this wasn't a joking matter. "It's how I do my paperwork as the clan head. It's called shadow clones," Naruto responded with a smirk. The Hokage's demeanor went from feral to dumbfounded. He then straightened out his robes, walked behind his desk, bent down to a drawer, opened it, pulled out a lockbox, opened the lockbox, and got out two pieces of paper. One was a bullseye and the other was a Sanin-level transport document. The Hokage quickly filled out the paper, handed it to Naruto, and then proceeded to bang his head onto the bullseye. "Stupid, stupid, stupid." After a minute he wiped his forehead clean of any blood and restarted the conversation as if nothing happened. "Now, I presume since you wanted the transport passes that you will be leaving the village tonight, or within the next couple of days?" he asked, and Naruto nodded. "Then it will also act as an ambassador pass that will let you make decisions in my name," he said. "And why is that?" Naruto asked. "You will most likely be going to Kiri and Kumo because you mentioned you were friends with the Mizukage and Raikage, yes?" he responded, and Naruto nodded again. "They have asked to enter this year's Chunin exams and I haven't gotten around replying to them, so I would like you to tell them they have the green light to send their genin to this year's exams. Could you do that for me?" he asked hopefully. "And not CA and Mei-chan?" "Hell yeah, I'll do it," Naruto said, making everyone else in the room besides Alucard's sweat drop. "What are the other things you want?" the Hokage asked. "The entire Senju library transported to the vacant part of the library in the Namikaze compound," Naruto responded. "Understandable. And the other?" Hokage asked the triumvirate clan head. "Meh, I'll get back to you on that." Naruto grinned, making the Hokage sweat drop again. "What? It can be good for you if the Hokage owes you a favor," Naruto grinned again. Hiruzen had to agree with that. "Alright, but when the Chunin exams start up, try to refrain from killing your opponents, Naruto-kun," the Hokage said, making the genin chuckle nervously. "When do the exams start up?" "In a month and a half," the professor responded. "Alright, good. Well, I guess I'm going to get Koiki-chan settled in the compound and I'll head off to Kumo and Kiri in a couple days." "You don't have to move the library right now, but just do it while I'm gone," Naruto said as Hiruzen nodded. "One more thing, Naruto, you have how many bloodlines do you have and how many will you have when you unlock Alucard-san's Kekai Genkai?" he asked. "After I unlock Alucard's 5, he said, making the professor nod. "Well, seeing as how you will have not one but 3 clans and you will have 5 Kekai Genkais, you know where I'm going with this?" Hiruzen asked. "Multiple clan restoration act?" Naruto responded with a sigh and a slight smirk. "Why are you sighing?" "You lucky bastard," Hiruzen sighed himself. "How many wives do I have to have?" Naruto responded. Hiruzen didn't respond but took out a small gray book and flipped through the pages. The book was labeled Guide to Knowing How Many Wives a Clan Head Will Need, by Hashirama Senju. "The book says that you will need to have no less than 25 wives, the Hokage said while Naruto's eyes widened. "Yay! We get a harem, Naruto-kun!" Kyuubi exclaimed excitedly, jumping up and down and clapping her hands together while Alucard was openly giving his landlord a very rude hand gesture. "Is this really the Kyuubi no Yoko? Speaking of which, how long has he known about her? I'll need to tell the council this. I can practically feel the headache from here," Hiruzen groaned. "How about I show off my bloodlines as well as my identity in the final event of the Chunin exams to postpone your headache, Gigi?" Naruto said while the professor narrowed his eyes. "Why would you let everyone discover your identity, Naruto-kun?" "I thought you liked the secrecy," the Hokage responded. "Keeping my identity secret is so tedious." "I hate it," Naruto deadpanned. "Then why'd you keep your identity a secret in the first place?" Hiruzen asked. "I thought it'd be cool at the time." Naruto chuckled nervously. Hiruzen rolled his eyes. "Alright, this will be labeled an SS class secret until the Chunin exams. Now get out of my office, I'm going to take a nap," the Hokage said as he tipped his hat up to cover his eyes while Naruto's tenants dissipated. "We get a legal harem, now, Naruto-kun." Kyuubi cheered from Naruto's mindscape. "Hee hee, yeah we do, Kyu-chan," Naruto responded as he left the office to see Kumiko, Enko, Koiki, and Kurina in the lobby while Erasure was being petted affectionately by Koiki. "Indeed," a voice said from behind Naruto. He turned around to see the teen from earlier with his laptop closed being held at his side. "Did you just read my thoughts?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. "Yep," the teen responded cheerfully. "And who are you, I might ask?" Naruto asked another question. "Camster3100, or you can call me Cam. I'm the author of this story. And I'm also the most powerful person in this entire world," Cam grinned. "Author? Story? Most powerful person? Prove you're stronger than me," Naruto asked skeptically. Cam merely snapped his fingers and time froze around them. I am, trust me. But you are only the way you are, because of me. Would you like to see how you would have been if you weren't molded into the badass I see before me? Kem asked with a smirk. Why the hell not? Naruto said as he crossed his arms. The two then found themselves in a movie theater with a 3-2-1 on the big screen before it started to play. You could see a midget of a blonde and a kill me now and spit on my remains because I'm an ignorant, unbadass punk bitch orange jumpsuit fawning over Sakura Haruno. Hey, Sakura-chan. Would you like to go out on a date with me? The alternate Naruto asked cheerfully. Our Naruto merely bent over to the left of his seat and threw up all over the floor. I've seen enough. That's what I thought, Kem retorted with a grin as he snapped his fingers again to put them back in the lobby where time was still frozen. I am also the reason why you're getting all these women, so try and be a little grateful, Camster said. That and your devilishly good looks. Thanks, Naruto said as he spat on the floor to rid him of the lingering puke in his mouth. That sight was truly disgusting. Now, I must be off. You'll see me around, bye. Kem grinned as time resumed and he disappeared. That was odd, Madara piped in as Naruto rid himself of the thoughts, and walked over to the four women and Niken. Getting Koyuki-chan settled into the Namikaze's compound wasn't difficult, and she was actually quite happy to see her horse. The estate was large enough that the horse could have roaming space. Koyuki was mildly freaked out that she would be living with two ex-missing nin, but she quickly discovered that Shizuka-chan and Haku-chan were good people. Enko, Kurenai, and Kumiko decided to stay for a while before they had to resume their duties. Kumiko asked if Naruto wanted to train, but he declined and said that he had to go see Mikoto-chan at the Uchiha compound. Naruto walked through the streets of Konoha, some civilians bowing to him, some calling him Namikaze-sama, some glaring at him out of the corner of his eye, and some just outright glared at him. He did wish, however, that people would mutter demon rather than Namikaze-sama, with the only intention of trying to get in his good graces. Naruto walked through the gates of the Uchiha compound in the Uchiha district on Konoha, showing the hired guards there his pass given to him by Mikoto. They bowed to him as he kept walking. It took a moment for him to get to the entrance of the main compound. He had to say that the compound was very nice, though the lack of clanspeople was unsettling. He snapped out of his stupor and then knocked on the door. He heard faint footsteps and they gradually grew louder before the door opened, the door to reveal one Sasuke Uchiha clad in his usual attire. What are you doing here, Do? Sasuke said as he crossed his arms. I'll have you know, I graduated at the top of my class 7 years ago, a week after I enrolled, so please stop calling me the dead last, Naruto replied, making Sasuke snarl. Sochi, who is it? Mikoto yelled from the living room, of which was down the hallway from the doorway. No one, Kasan, Sasuke replied to his mother, making Erasure come up from his spot in Naruto's jacket and growl at him. What happened to you, Sasuke? Me and you used to be friends back then, Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow as he petted Erasure at the same time. This isn't still about getting revenge on your sister, is it? Before the young Uchiha could retort, Mikoto walked to the door. Oh, Naruto-kun. Please come in. Mikoto smiled as Sasuke was glaring the sharpest of daggers at the blonde clad in white and black. Sasuke begrudgingly moved out of the way as Naruto walked past him to the living room to seat Sim and a Hyuga Naruto hadn't seen before. She had eggplant-colored hair that reached her lower back with two individual bangs covering either temple on her head. She had an ample bosom, but it seemed like it was being held down, which was most likely by some wrappings. She wore a purple kimono with black trimming. She had a very beautiful face and her eyes were the trademark lavender, pupilless eyes. Naruto-kun, it's good to see you, Mikoto said as she hugged the blonde, making Sim slightly jealous at the sight. It's good to see you, too, Mikoto-chan, Sim-chan, he responded as he hugged Mikoto back and took a seat next to Sim, and she scooted closer to him, making him blush slightly as she put an arm around his neck and rested it on his left shoulder, while she crossed her legs. So, Naruto-kun, how'd your C-rank mission go? Sim asked with a smile. You mean the C-rank turned A-rank? Nothing to it, really. I got some extra cash for turning in the leader's bounty. Nothing more, nothing less, Naruto explained as he saw the wide eyes of the Hyuga, Mikoto, and Sim. Sasuke didn't tell me that, neither did Kiba. They probably didn't want you guys worrying about them. I gotta say that Kiba and Sasuke did their fair shares of work. Hell, the whole team did except that Haruno girl, Naruto basically spat. Is it true that she got Kunoichi of the year? Yeah, all because of her academics, Sim replied with a roll of her eyes. Her academics? She didn't seem too bright to me, Naruto responded, making the three women giggle. So, may I ask your name, Hyuga-san? Naruto asked while the woman strangely blushed at his attention. My name is Hitomi Hyuga, Naruto-san. I've heard quite a lot about you from these two here, Hitomi said, gesturing to Tsum and Mikoto. Now, do I have a little fan club going on? Naruto chuckled, making the two clan heads blush slightly. Say, Naruto-san, do you know Hinata Hyuga? Hitomi asked with a raised eyebrow and gentle smile. Kind of meek, somewhat short, quite purple hair? Naruto said, earning a nod from Hitomi. Yeah, she was in my class. I never really talked to her though. Are you her mother? He asked. Yes, I am. I am also her father's recently divorced ex-wife, she said with a hint of venom backing her words. The man never found time for me or his children. We were basically strangers that shared a bedroom, so I eventually went to the Hyuga Council asking if we could no longer be married. They agreed, but they said that I must stay within the clan unless I find another husband. But Hayashi just had to put in his 2 cents and say that the caged bird seal be put on me for getting a divorce. Just to appease their Hayashi-sama, they agree. However, the vote was close, she responded as she dispelled the genjutsu she had over her forehead to reveal the green seal. Naruto had to say that the Hyuga clan head was a dickhead for doing that to his own wife. He looked closer at the seal and laughed slightly. What's so funny? Hitomi asked as she glared at the blonde. Oh, nothing, but just the fact that seal isn't even master-level Juinjutsu that the Hyugas claim it is. I'd remove it if you would like, he smiled, making her and the other female head's eyes go wide. Why, you can? She said disbelievingly. Of course. The Uzumakis were Fuinjutsu and Juinjutsu masters when they were still around. The caged bird seal is one of the more medium-level restraining and confining seals that the Uzumakis had. I'm actually surprised they were even able to decipher the thing without a seal master. The language on the seal is about as dead as Latin. Give me a month or so for preparations and I'll have it off in no time, Naruto smiled. Hitomi quickly got up and ran over to Naruto before enveloping him in a hug. Thank you. If there's anything I can do for you, then please, just name it, she said with a smile. Only one thing, he said, making her take on a questioning look. What is it, Naruto-kun? She asked as she wiped away some tears that had fallen from her beautiful lavender-colored eyes. Naruto gained a questioning look at the use of kun, but shrugged it off. Well, seeing as how you just called me Naruto-kun, then may I call you Hitomi-chan? He smiled, making her blush and the other two clan heads shake their heads in amusement. Yeah, that's our Naruto-kun, they thought simultaneously with small smiles. The next 2 days were spent simply conversing with the women Naruto had taken interests in with his new-found hormones. The main ones being Koiki-chan, Hana-chan, Shizuka-chan, and Haku-chan, seeing as how he needed to get to know Koiki better and the fact that he hadn't seen Hana, Shizuka, or Haku in over 2 weeks, so he just wanted to catch up. Shizuka and Haku didn't have the same reactions as Makoto, Hitomi, or Tsum when he told them he did a C-rank turned A-rank mission. They simply told him that it was hurting his status as Black Death. The third day, Naruto was called to the Hokage's office to start his month-long mission away from the village. The mission was also dubbed a solo S-rank because of the importance of it. Hiruzen came up with the lie for Naruto's team and any others that he was traveling to Yuzushiogakure to recover some simple scrolls. Kumiko protested, but Hiruzen told her that he had faith in Naruto's abilities. Other than her, no one else knew of the mission save for Shizuka and Haku. Naruto felt bad that he couldn't tell Hana, Tsum, Anko, Makoto, or Kurenai about it, so to them it was like he just upped and left. The reason he couldn't tell them was because genin weren't supposed to go on S-rank missions, so after that Naruto set off to Kiri for the first 2 weeks. He really didn't like using his Kurwa Denko or Black Lightning technique because it took all of the adventure out of walking and exploring. He based it off what he had been given about Hirishin, but at the same time he wanted it to be different from his father's version. Kurwa Denko required seals if he wanted to travel long range, but with short range, which was about 5 miles or so, all he had to do was spread his chakra around the immediate area. It was about 5 on the same day as Naruto stopped in Nami no Kuni, Wave Country. He then decided to visit a few people he had known since he was 12. Naruto and Ai-chan. An 11-year-old Inari said as he hugged Naruto. Hey, Oturo, Naruto smiled as he hugged his surrogate brother back. Erishur jumped out of Naruto's jacket, and Inari played with the small wolf-like dog. Sochi, who's at the door? Tsunami said as she came around the corner with a ladle in hand. She nearly dropped the utensil when she realized who was at the door. Naruto-kun, she said as she ran up to him and hugged him, in which he obliged wholeheartedly. Good to see you too, Tsunami-chan, he smiled as he picked her slightly off the ground playfully, in which she giggled. So what do I owe the honor of you coming into our home, Naruto? Tazuna said with a smile as he went to greet Naruto as well. After the greetings had gone by, the group had settled into the living room area where they made themselves comfortable. Inari sat by Naruto while Tazuna sat in his own chair while Tsunami was fixing some tea for herself and Inari, while Naruto and Tazuna had settled for some sake. You're getting married, Tazuna-jiji? Congratulations, Naruto smiled while he pet Erishur on the head, making the dog lean into it. Yeah, and Tsunami has been thinking about taking up your offer about moving to Konoha, Tazuna replied. Are you, your fiancé, and Inari coming too? Naruto asked, earning a shake of the head from Tazuna. Only Tsunami is. I have to look after your bridge while my fiancé owns a business here. Inari is under my apprenticeship as a carpenter, and he has a lot going for him here. Tazuna explained, earning an O from Naruto. Remind me again why you named the bridge after little old me? Naruto joked as he sipped some sake. You are just too humble, Naruto-kun, Tsunami said with a smile as she sat on the opposite side of Naruto after handing Inari his tea. So what brings you back to the land of waves? Tazuna asked. Naruto pointed to his Konoha forehead protector tied around his neck. I've gotta go to Kumo and Kiri to meet with the Reikage and Mizukage to tell them they have the go for the upcoming Chunin exams. I'm going to see the Mizukage first, but I'll stay here a couple days with you guys though. When I'm done with my mission I'll stop back by to escort you, Tsunami-chan, to Konoha if that's alright, Naruto smiled. That'd be great, Naruto-kun. Tusan's wedding is in a couple weeks, so I'll start packing. But where would I stay? I haven't bought a house or rented an apartment, Tsunami said worriedly. Oh, well, you can stay with me on my estate. We've got plenty of extra rooms, so space won't be a problem, though Shizuka-chan and Haku-chan live there, too. So it won't just be us. Naruto smiled, making Tsunami blush slightly at the thought of living with Naruto. What clan are you from, Naruto? Tazuna asked. I'm the head of the Uzumakis and Namikes, Naruto said, earning a spit take from Tsunami and Tazuna. You guys didn't think that my last name was just for show, right? Naruto smirked. Naruto remembered telling Hiruzen that he would also announce that he would head the Senjus at the council meeting after the Chunin exams. Well, that's good to hear. I hope you'll keep my daughter safe and treat her well? Tazuna asked with a smirk, knowing full well of his daughter's crush. The 2 days passed relatively quickly for Naruto, and he could be seen going on a boat towards Kiri. He taught her how to use a mass storage seal so it would be easier for her to pack. She also said that she would teach Tazuna and Inari both how to cook to some degree so that Tazuna's fiancé wouldn't be stuck with all the cooking all of the time. Naruto then remembered something that would cost him some extra time when he got through with his business in Kuma was to travel to the Yuzu ruins to try and find some more Fuinjutsu scrolls or books, because the previous time he was there was when he had just turned 9, and he was being chased by 3 teams of Jonin from Nadeshiko for trespassing on sacred grounds in their village. He hid there for a day before they found him. That was also the day he had used well over 1,000 shadow clones to sift through any scrolls or books about Fuinjutsu and Juinjutsu. Oh, how he wished he had more time. Fuinjutsu and Juinjutsu were truly magnificent arts. The teen snapped out of his stupor to find that he had just arrived in of the main ports in Kiri. He smiled at just how close he was to seeing his Mei-chan. He got off of the boat to see a set of guards. Halt. Explain your business here, and your rite of passage, one guard said while Naruto merely reached into his jacket to get his Sannin-level travel pass. I have a message for the Mizukage from the Hokage, Naruto said as the guard of who was previously checking out the pass nodded to Naruto, and the blonde went about his way towards his Mei-chan's office. He let Alucard and Madara materialize so that they could sate their needs, more so Alucard. He offered it to Kyuubi as well, but she declined so that she could be with her precious Naruto-kun. The 25-year-old Mei Terumi was currently sifting through paperwork as per usual with her job. How she wished she could just take a break from her job as the Mizukage of Kirigakure. Mizukage-sama, there is a guest waiting for you outside of the door. He is a messenger from Konoha. I will send him in if you are not busy, her secretary said over the intercom in her desk. What could the Hokage want unless he is replying about entering the Chunin exams? Mei thought questioningly. Send the messenger in, she replied, earning a yes, Mizukage-sama, from the secretary. Mei resumed her paperwork, and a moment later the door opened. She looked up to see a man with piercing blue eyes, spiky blonde hair, white trench coat, and 2 visible swords at his hips. Hey, Mei-chan, Naruto smiled, making Mei's eyes tear up at the sight of him. Naruto-kun, she said as she ran around her desk to hug her Naruto. She jumped into his arms and he lifted her slightly and twirled around with her in his arms. He held her up by her thighs so that she was looking down on him. I missed you so much, she said as she kissed him softly on the lips while putting her hands on either cheek. I missed you too, Naruto smiled as he kissed her as well. He let her down, thought she kept her arms around his neck, and he put his arms around her waist. Erasure popped out with a yip and a wagging tail while Mei giggled. She leant her forehead against his and chuckled. I thought you weren't coming back, Naruto-kun, she said as she kissed him softly again. I always keep my promises, Mei-chan, Naruto replied. Though I'll only be here for a couple weeks, he added, making her frown. Hey, don't be like that. You'll be in Konoha for at least a month, so we'll at least be together for another month or so. I guess I'll take as much time as I can with my Naruto-kun. She smiled as she put her head between the crook of his neck and breathed in his scent. They stayed in each other's embrace before they separated, and Naruto took a seat in Mei's chair while she sat in his lap, him holding her. They discussed the arrangements of the Chunin exams, and after that they just talked about what had happened over the past 1.5 years he was gone, and what she had done over the time she had been appointed Mizukage. Ao had stopped by but was promptly thrown out not 2 seconds later, but not before taking Erasure out for a walk around Kiri with Chojuro. After that they just sat in a comfortable silence until Kyu-chan spoke from his mind. Naruto-kun, I want to speak to Mei too. Kyu-chan pouted from Naruto's mindscape. Hey, Mei-chan. Kyu-chan wants to talk to you. Is that alright? He asked. Of course it's alright, Naruto-kun, she said with a smile. Not a second later Kyu-chan materialized and Mei jumped up to hug the fox demon. It's so good to see you, Mei-chan, Kyuubi said as the 2 redheads hugged each other. They separated but instead chose to whisper to each other. They each smiled deviously while light blushes adorned their faces. Hey, Naruto-kun, Mei said seductively as she put a hand on Naruto's shoulder and ran in across to his other shoulder. Naruto raised an eyebrow as his cheeks adorned a light blush. What would you say, Kyuubi continued as got on the chair and straddled Naruto's waist, making him blush more. To a threesome? They both finished with seductive smirks. Naruto's eyes nearly bulged out of his head at the sound of those words. A threesome? His first ever full sexual experience would be in a threesome with the goddess that was Kyuubi no Yoko, and the angel that was the 5th Mizukage, Mei Terumi? That was something he would have to be an idiot to turn down. So, what do you say, Naruto-kun? Kyuubi grinned as she licked the side of his neck, making shivers go up and down his spine at the very touch of the wet organ. She sucked on his neck enough to leave a red mark before licking the underside of his jaw up to his lips before giving him a chaste kiss in which he grinned before returning in full. I think that's a yes, May giggled as she started to slowly take off her dress. She started with her high-heeled sandals first right before taking off her shin guards. She kicked them to the side before reaching behind her to grasp the zipper to her dress. She pulled it down all the way to the bottom before letting her sleeves fall to her sides. She got her arms out of her sleeves before letting her dress fall to her feet to reveal a mesh undershirt above a set of yellow lace panties and yellow lace bra. Her were also the same size as Kyuubi's. Naruto also figured that she wore yellow because of him. She giggled as he eyed the yellow bra and yellow panties before she kicked the dress to the side along with her sandals. She set the papers that were on the desk on the floor and whatever was on there, giving Naruto a full view of her finely shaped ass. He could feel his erection threatening to break the cloth of his pants. When she was done, she turned around and sat on the desk, spreading her legs all the while making a come hither sign with her right index finger. Naruto grinned. Kyuubi stood up, and he took off his jacket and put it on the chair, unhooked his firearms along with the shoulder holsters, put them on the right armrest, unhooked his swords and sat them against the chair as well. He then, in a flash, took out a silencing seal and threw it against the wall, making it shine green before taking on its normal color. He then started to walk over to May, the latter grinning devilishly before smashing her lips to his. Meanwhile, he was ripping the mesh she had on from the back before the disengaged the kiss so he could throw it in a random direction, aiming her clad only in panties and a bra. Before he could go any further, he heard a slight pout come from behind him. He looked back and smiled to Kyu-chan. Come on up, Kyu-chan. He patted the place beside May. I'm sure I can multitask. He smiled as she blushed but also grinned before discarding her robe to reveal the pair of clad in a red bra that Naruto had grown familiar with and a mound that he could already see dripping wet, only covered by a pair of red lace panties and which were clearly already very damp. She walked sexily over to desk before sitting right next to May, giving the Mizukage a flashy smile before Naruto latched onto the former's neck, planting hot kisses while he massaged the left breast of the latter. He then unhooked the bra of May to see it fall to her knees before falling to the ground. He looked at her chest to see a large pair of with erect red. Naruto latched into her left teat and began sucking, making May elicit moans while Naruto snaked a hand into Kyuubi's panties, making her gasp as he immediately put in two slender fingers before rubbing her inner walls while his palm massaged her clit, making her moan loudly and convulse slightly, making her inner walls contract around his fingers. Don't forget me, Naruto-kun, May moaned as Naruto stopped licking and sucking on her neck, making it as if he had the lava release because of the trail of molten kisses he was leaving on her silky skin. He engaged her in a lip lock as Kyu-chan started to convulse around his fingers. I'm si close, Naruto-kun. She moaned as Naruto continued his assault on her nether lips before kissing her after. She moaned into his lips as she came. I'm si coming, she yelled as she released around his fingers. He grinned as his hand retracted from her panties to his lips before he tasted it. It was still delicious as ever. Kyuubi decided to rest, so decided Naruto to focus on May. He got his knees and placed both hands on either side of her yellow lace panties before closing his eyes like he did with Kyuubi a couple weeks ago. He pulled them down while he kissed her right leg, leaving almost burning kisses in his wake. If May didn't watch herself, then she'd right then and there because of the pleasure she was receiving just from his kisses alone. His feathery kisses stopped on the top side of her right foot before pulling off the yellow attire completely before kissing his way up the left leg, making May whimper and moan slightly at the touch of his lips. He reached her inner thigh before hooking his arms around her thighs and opening his eyes. He looked to see a beautiful mound with a small patch of auburn hair above it. Her mound didn't even look like it was touched by anyone. Like ever. It was swollen and pink because of her arousal, and it was practically begging to be touched. He grinned before looking up to her. What would you like me to do, Mayheim? He asked, still grinning. I want you, she breathed out. I know, but what do you want me to do? He responded, inching closer to her awaiting nether lips. I want you to eat me out, she said, getting impatient as she wagged her hips a little to try and entice him. You're gonna have to do better than that, he responded as he blew on her lower lips, making her shudder. I want you to eat out this naughty Mizukage, she basically screamed. Hell, if she even recollected on her previous words, she would have died from embarrassment. Your wish is my command, Mayheim, Naruto said as he gave a tentative lick before he stuck his tongue into her, fully making her eyes go wide and a wave of ecstasy to roll over her at the felling of his wet appendage. He never called me that, Kyuubi pouted as she let a single finger move towards her nether lips as she watched Naruto eat out the Mizukage. After a moment, Naruto unlatched his lips for a moment. All of you are royalty in my mind, Kyuubi-heim. He smiled as he reattached himself to May's lower lips, making her moan at Naruto's actions. Kyuubi smiled and blushed at his caring side as she started to fantasize about herself being pounded by Naruto. After a minute, Naruto could feel May starting to convulse lightly from what he could tell around his tongue from her contracting. He smiled as his work provided more fruit or juices. I'm close, Naruto-kun. Right there. May almost screamed as his tongue was touching a very sensitive spot inside her. He retracted a bit to nibble at the uncloaked clit. Her eyes went wide as several waves of ecstasy rolled over her before she came. I'm coming, she yelled as the floodgates were let loose. Naruto lapped up all of the juices greedily. She tasted of strong vanilla in which he enjoyed extremely. After a moment she looked over to Kyuubi, and they both grinned before nodding to each other. Naruto gained a puzzled expression. The expression didn't last long, however, because of the way they stood from the desk and basically pushed Naruto to the Mizuki's chair before both kneeled down to his sides. Well, aren't you too feisty? He grinned, while they blushed slightly before taking off his shirt. They both admired his finely sculpted pectorals and abs before he unbuckled his belt and kicked off his pants for them to see the massive tent in his white and red boxers. Both women blushed while Naruto looked amused. They looked at each other and grabbed each side of his boxers with one hand before pulling them down to his feet to reveal his massive 9-foot, circumcised member, making each woman shudder at the thought of that beast being inside them. They just got even wetter from the thought as well.